Chapter 232. Every one of Lin Xian's deeds could shock a group of people. And when all these deeds were concentrated on one person, it was even more shocking. Elder Song's eyes lit up again. He had also witnessed Lin Xian obtain the title of second-grade inscription master with his own eyes. He was also full of hope for Lin Xian. The competition went on quickly. During this time Lu Qing, Dingzhe, and the others from Thousand Treasures Tower were all defeated. Lu Qing was defeated by Ziyi with a glance, and Dingzhe was defeated by the ethereal girl from Rain Country. For a moment, Xia Country's momentum fell to the bottom. At this time on the first arena, the referee's voice sounded again. Next match, Lin Xian versus Shadowless. Shadowless, the black-robed young man, was a martial artist as terrifying as Ziyi. Hua! Some of the disciples who were not participating in the competition all ran towards the first arena, surrounding it so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Most of them were disciples from Xia Country and Shadow Country. After all, this battle would determine whether Xia Country could rise. If Lin Xian couldn't even defeat the black-robed man, then it was even more impossible for him to defeat Ziyi. That also proved that Xia Country would be completely defeated in this competition. For a moment Wei Wei, Shan Shan, Lu Qing, and the others were all watching nervously. In the stands, Elder Song and Elder Gu also took a deep breath and looked over with rapt attention. The black-robed young man stood on the stage like a ghost, emitting a terrifying aura. "Kid, your luck has come to an end to meet me." The black-robed young man's voice was a little hoarse. Xia Country is destined to have no fate with the inscription tower. Cut the crap. Lin Xian frowned. He sensed that some black runes were quietly forming under his feet. Boom! The copper thunder pattern shone brightly. Lin Xian's whole body was surrounded by thunder and lightning, like a thunder god descending to the world. Xiu! Xiu! The black gas was like a worm attached to a bone, quickly crawling onto Lin Xian's body. At the same time, the black-robed young man's finger shone with a black light, and a dangerous aura spread out. Qi! A black light rushed out from his fingertip and attacked Lin Xian like black lightning. Disperse! Lin Xian's body shook, and the lightning patterns on his body flickered, dispersing the black aura around him. At the same time, his feet flashed and his figure disappeared. Whoosh! When he reappeared, he was already behind the black-robed young man. So fast! The surrounding martial artists cried out in alarm. They simply couldn't see Lin Xian's footwork clearly. Their exclamation was reasonable because none of the black-robed youth's opponents had ever been able to escape from the black finger light. Even the second-grade inscriptionists were no exception. But now Lin Xian had easily dodged it. The black-robed young man sneered. With a shake of his black robe, he disappeared. What? Everyone was stunned for a moment. Then they used their soul power to search. Soon, a look of shock appeared on their faces. No. They couldn't sense the black-robed youth's presence at all. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He released his soul force and carefully sensed. A moment later he frowned. Just like the others, he didn't sense anything. That kid is dead meat. How dare he show off his speed in front of Shadowless? Does he really think he's called Shadowless for nothing? The disciples of the Dark Shadow Palace sneered, their words full of sarcasm. Using Shadowless as his name was enough to show the black-robed youth's speed. The disciples of the state of Great Xia were shocked. They thought the black-robed youth's strength was his soul power, but they didn't expect it to be his speed. With such speed, the opponent can't even sense it. How can he attack? Don't be discouraged. Lin Xian's defense is very strong. Shadowless might not be able to break it, Vivian said in a low voice. The disciples of the state of Great Xia were stunned, then overjoyed. Indeed, the strength of Lin Xian's defense was obvious to all. Even a martial artist in the seventh sky of the spiritual sea realm couldn't break it. Just as everyone was filled with hope, a sharp black light appeared in the air. Its appearance was so sudden that there was no sign at all. Whoosh! The black light was like a crescent moon. It seemed to split the void in half as it struck down. Bang! Lin Xian punched out, hitting the crescent moon and creating a burst of sparks. Chi-chi! Crackle! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled incessantly. Lin Xian shattered the crescent-shaped black light, but his arm was still numb. This was the first time he felt numb since he cultivated the copper thunder mark. After shattering the crescent moon, Lin Xian spread out his soul power, searching for the black-robed youth's figure. However, he caught a trace of the youth's aura and then lost track of him again. After a few breaths, the sharp chi slashed through the void again, coming from behind him. This time it was a black sickle. The sharp blade was suffused with cold light, making people's souls tremble. Poochie! This blade slashed on Lin Xian's body, creating a half-foot-long wound. The copper thunder mark was cut open a little. Although it didn't hurt Lin Xian, the impact was shocking. Below the stage, the disciples of the state of shadow were all boiling and shouting. The disciples of the state of Great Xia were worried. They thought that the black-robed youth couldn't hurt Lin Xian. Now it seemed that they were too naive. A black sickle was enough to cut open Lin Xian's defense. Lin Xian was also shocked. He twisted his body and quickly dodged the blade. It can actually cut open the copper thunder mark. His face was gloomy. He was very clear about the power of the copper thunder mark. Although his copper thunder mark was only at the lower level, a normal martial artist at the 7th layer of the spiritual sea realm couldn't break his defense. It must be that black sickle. Lin Xian didn't believe that the black-robed youth could break his defense, because the first attack didn't hurt him at all. What kind of weapon could actually cut open the lower-level copper thunder mark? Could it be a high-grade mystic rank artifact? He was shocked, but at the same time he was on full alert. This was a difficult opponent to deal with. His movement technique was strange to the extreme. In the following time, Lin Xian was in a passive state, almost getting hurt a few times. However, he also noticed something. This method of attack was very similar to my wind melting style, but it was much more advanced than my wind melting style. The principle should be the same. He blended into the wind. Thinking of this, Lin Xian's eyes lit up. With a flip of his palm, the autumn scar sword appeared in his hand. Weapon. Lin Xian actually took out a weapon. The nearby disciples were shocked. They had never seen Lin Xian use a weapon. Long sword, could he be a sword cultivator? Even some of the Xia Kingdom's disciples were stunned. Many of them looked at Vivian. Yes, Lin Xian is indeed a sword cultivator. Vivian nodded. Lin Xian. Could he be the one ranked 20 on the hidden dragon rank Lin Xian? Someone exclaimed. Instantly the crowd was shocked. A powerful sword cultivator was actually a second-grade rune master. This kind of news was undoubtedly explosive. You think you can fight against Shadowless with a long sword? Too naive. Yeah, backward country indeed. The disciples of the Dark Shadow Palace sneered. They were very clear about Shadowless' strength. He was a genius who comprehended a trace of the wind mentality. Chapter 233. It's useless. No one can find me. The black-robed young man's voice rang out in the surroundings. It was so faint that no one could find his real body. You can try. Lin Xian sneered. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The black-robed young man said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the air on Lin Xian's left was torn apart as the black sickle slashed down mercilessly. Shoo! A sword light flashed and accurately pierced the blade. The horrifying force caused the blade to deviate from its original direction. Boom! The black sickle slashed the ground, creating a crack. Countless rocks rolled to both sides. The hard black ground was finally broken open at this moment. As soon as he succeeded, Lin Xian's eyes turned sharp. The autumn scar sword in his hand pierced out again as fast as lightning. At this moment, the black-robed young man had already disappeared. Wind Emperor's sword. Lin Xian pushed the Wind Emperor's sword to the extreme. The sword became transparent as if it had disappeared, leaving only the hilt exposed. This scene was extremely strange. It was as if the long sword was broken in half. However, Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. Puff! Dang! A low sound rang out in the air. Then a figure appeared. What? He actually hit it. The surrounding people looked at the black-robed young man who was in a sorry state. Their faces were filled with shock. Impossible! How did he find out? The disciples of the Dark Shadow Palace screamed. Even some of the elders were frowning. Lucky! He must be lucky. The black-robed young man's shock did not fade. Like the other disciples, he believed that Lin Xian's sword was lucky. He had comprehended a trace of the wind mentality and could merge with the wind. Normal people would not be able to find him, let alone hit him. Thinking of this, the black-robed young man calmed down. His body shook and he disappeared again. Shoo! A black blade light that was dozens of meters long slashed through the air, but the black-robed young man did not appear. Shoo! The dazzling sword light lit up like a cold light, illuminating half of the arena. Boom! The black-robed young man's body was blasted out again. He staggered back 7 or 8 steps before stopping. This is impossible. He finally lost his composure. Lin Xian did not respond. Instead, he quickly attacked. With the power of wind and lightning surging, Lin Xian's speed reached the extreme. Those who were observant would notice that Lin Xian's body was beginning to fade in and out of existence. Sometimes they couldn't even sense him. Thunder and lightning surged and the wind howled. Wind and thunder blended together, and the terrifying sword energy tore through the sky. With a thrust of the sword, all the air within 10 meters was sucked away. Clang! The black-robed youth held a 2-meter-long black sickle in his hand and formed a semicircle in the air, blocking Lin Xian's sword light. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian had already arrived beside him. His left fist was like a dragon as he suddenly punched out. Thunder and lightning intertwined and instantly smashed onto the black sickle. The terrifying force caused the black-robed man to retreat more than 10 meters. Wind Emperor's sword. The sword light disappeared, and when it reappeared, it was already in front of the black-robed man. Whoosh! The black robe was torn apart, and a half-meter-long sword mark appeared on Shadowless' body. Luckily, he had the black chi protecting his body, so this sword did not hurt him. However, his sorry state made him even more furious. You dare to embarrass me? You deserve to die. Shadowless tore apart the black robe on his body, revealing a black armor. As if he was a martial artist that walked out of hell, Shadowless' body was filled with black chi, bringing with it a sinister aura. Death Sickle! Shadowless roared. The black sickle formed a terrifying attack, and the sharp blade caused terrifying cracks to appear on the ground. The black wind blade wrapped around Lin Xian. As long as it touched him, it would tear him apart. Even a martial artist in the 7th layer of the spiritual ocean tier would not be able to block this kind of attack. Lightning Storm. Lin Xian activated his spirit power, and a terrifying scene formed within 10 meters. Wind and thunder intertwined, and the wind roared like a lightning tribulation. The two forces collided, sending out a violent energy wave. Violent air waves swept out in all directions. Hoo! The overflowing energy quickly spread to the edge of the stage. Everyone felt their chests tighten, unable to block it at all. Wang! Wang! The black stage emitted light, forming a translucent light screen at the edge, blocking the storm on the stage. Everyone let out a sigh of relief and looked at the stage again. The 2-meter-long black sickle formed a terrifying wind blade attack in front of Shadowless. At the same time, he drew a black rune with one hand, forming a black rain of light, attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian slowly raised the autumn scar sword above his head, and the aura on his body gradually sharpened. Like a divine sword being unsheathed, a monstrous sword intent poured out, accompanied by a dragon's roar. Behind him, a ferocious dragon head was faintly discernible. Sword chi roared, tearing the air above, and the terrifying sword intent swept out in all directions. At this moment, everyone in the valley looked over, their eyes filled with shock. Sword intent! This is sword intent! Everyone was stunned, and the elder of the Shadow Country's face was extremely gloomy. Sword intent is one of the most terrifying attacks. Lin Xian's aura at this moment had reached an indescribable height. Perhaps no one below the harmonious spirit realm could resist him. Sword intent, what a terrifying sword intent! Lu Qing, Dingjia, and the other disciples who were originally unconvinced all fell into a daze. In the distance, Zai Yufei and the other peerless geniuses also showed a serious expression. Dance of Death. Shadowless looked at the figure in front of him, and his body trembled slightly. He gripped the black sickle tightly, and the spirit energy in his body crazily circulated. Dozens of black lights appeared on the surface of his body, and together with the black sickle, they formed a sharp blade light. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sickle spun, bringing with it the aura of death, like a dead person dancing in the night. As the most outstanding disciple of the Dark Shadow Palace, Shadowless used all of his strength at this moment. Lin Xian stood still like a rock, and he felt the danger of death. However, this did not shake his confidence. Wind Thunder Cut. The Autumn Scar sword fell down, bringing with it the sword intent of a dragon, like a heavenly blade cutting down. The air on both sides was blown back, and a 50-meter wide vacuum was formed in the center. The terrifying sword light instantly drowned the area in front of it. Shadowless also danced with the black sickle, turning into a giant sickle shadow and slashed up. More than half of the arena was flickering, and no one could see clearly, and no one dared to use their soul power. Sword intent was extremely sharp, and was said to be able to cut through the void, not to mention the soul power. At the edge of the arena, the translucent light rippled like a bubble, as if it could burst at any time. Everyone subconsciously stepped back 3 meters, and looked at the arena nervously. After a long while, the sword light disappeared, and the arena returned to normal. Everyone looked over impatiently, and they all sucked in a breath of cold air. A terrifying sword mark appeared on the hard ground, and it was more than 30 meters long. Chapter 234. There were several sword wounds on Shadowless' body, and one of them even tore his chest apart. On the other hand, Lin Xian stood with his sword in hand unharmed. With this comparison, it was obvious who was better. When the referee saw this, he immediately announced Lin Xian's victory. This voice echoed in the valley, lingering for a long time. Lin Xian also became the center of attention, becoming the biggest dark horse in this competition. Who would have thought that such a genius would appear in Xia country? Not only was he the youngest second-grade inscriber, but he was also an expert in the way of the sword. Lin Xian's name rang out in the crowd. It was the cheers of Xia country's disciples. At this moment, everyone's hostility towards Lin Xian disappeared. Lin Xian also became their spiritual pillar. Damn it, who said that Xia country doesn't have any geniuses? I'll fight him. Xia country's disciples all straightened their backs. He won, he really won. On the spectator's stand, Elder Song and Elder Gu were excited. As for the Dark Shadow Palace's elders, their faces were extremely gloomy. Bring Shadowless back and treat him, an elder ordered. On the first arena, the heavily injured Shadowless was taken away. Lin Xian also slowly walked off the stage. In the distance, Ziye's eyes flashed with purple light, carrying a murderous aura. The ethereal young girl Yufei also had a look of curiosity in her beautiful eyes. At this point, Lin Xian was undoubtedly the first in the first arena, and no one dared to challenge him. Half a day later, the final results were out. The top 3 of the 3 arenas would participate in the finals. On the first arena, the top 3 were Lin Xian, Shadowless, and Duan Fei. Among them, Lin Xian was the biggest dark horse, and Duan Fei was a second-grade inscriber from Rain Country. His strength was stable and he was a veteran. On the second arena, Ziyi Jiangfeng and Ouyang Changming. Although Ouyang Changming lost to Ziyi, it didn't mean that he wasn't strong. On the contrary, his purple demon eyes that lasted for 10 breaths was enough to prove his strength. In the end, he won 3rd place in Group 2. This was the result of his injury. He believed that with some adjustments, he would be able to perform even better in the finals. Jiang Feng, on the other hand, was a disciple of Shadow Palace in Shadow Country. His strength was second only to Shadowless. On the number 3 tournament stage, the first place was the ethereal girl Yufei, while the second and third place were Yanbing and Bai Jingshan. The 2 of them were from Rain Country and Shadow Country respectively. After the group matches ended, 2 people from Xia Country entered the finals. Although they were still at a disadvantage in the 3 kingdoms, it was much better than before. Everyone returned to the stands to rest and prepare for tomorrow's finals. Your performance was very good, but tomorrow's competition will be even more dangerous. You must not let your guard down, Elder Song said. Although several disciples of Shadow Country were injured, their overall strength was still very powerful. This could be seen from the number of people in the finals. Of the 9 spots, Shadow Country took up 4, which was a full half. And Rain Country could not be underestimated either. That ethereal young girl's performance was extremely stunning, and was not inferior to that of Lin Xian. Lin Xian and Ouyang Changming nodded solemnly. Then the 2 of them began to meditate and rest. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was recalling the battle with Shadowless during the day. That battle gave him a new understanding, especially in the aspect of the concept of wind, which he had a deep understanding of. This allowed the power of his Wind Emperor sword to increase again, and even his movement technique had improved. Although now he could not completely merge with the wind like Shadowless, his speed was much faster than before. The night was silent. On the second day, the sun rose, illuminating the whole valley. The black platform emitted a faint glow, and the 3 tournament stages merged to form a huge tournament stage. As for the scars on the black ground yesterday, they had completely disappeared. Everyone was amazed, and Lin Xian was also sizing them up curiously. It should be the formation that has an automatic recovery effect, Winelord transmitted. Lin Xian understood and did not pay attention to it anymore. And at this time, the purple-robed old man went on stage again, and said loudly, "Now, the finals of the Inscription Tower battle begin. The first match, Duanfei versus Ziyi." Everyone was slightly stunned, not expecting to see Ziyi fight in the first match. Instantly, Shadow Country's disciples cheered, and Rain Country's disciples looked worried. "I admit defeat." Duanfei smiled bitterly. With his strength, he could not resist the purple demon eyes, and the finals were a competition to accumulate points. All 9 people would fight, so preserving their strength was the most important. "At least you know your place." Ziyi sneered. Duanfei is very wise. Rain Country's elder sighed in relief. The referee elder smiled slightly, and directly announced Ziyi's victory, then said in a low voice. Next, the second match, Yufei versus Ouyang Chongming. It was another heavyweight match. After entering the finals, it could be said that every match was exciting. Elder Ouyang and Elder Song's eyes flashed. They knew that Ouyang Chongming's chances of winning were not high. After all, Yufei and Ziyi's strength were on par. Let's see what he chooses. Elder Ouyang's heart was heavy. Without any hesitation, Ouyang Chongming chose to fight. Elder Ouyang was gratified, but then he became nervous. Although Ouyang Chongming's decision made him satisfied, the battle situation was not optimistic. The ethereal girl in a blue dress was like a fairy descending to the mortal world, without a trace of worldly aura. On the opposite side, Ouyang Chongming's face was a little pale, but his eyes were unusually firm. Traceless spring rain. Yufei's lotus-like arms waved, forming ripples in the air. An indescribable power gushed out, spreading out like water ripples. Chi-chi. A trace of ripples touched the ground, and suddenly a small hole appeared. There was soul power contained in it. An elder exclaimed in a low voice. Lin Xian felt the killing intent in the ripples and frowned slightly. It was obvious that the ethereal girl's inscription technique had reached a terrifying level, and she could fuse it into her attacks. Soul Fortress. Ouyang Chongming shouted in a low voice, and his soul power fused into his spiritual armor, forming a double defense. At the same time, his body moved, and he quickly rushed towards the ethereal girl. Eagle soars the sky. Ouyang Chongming slashed out with his saber, and the saber light surged like a waterfall, slashing towards the ethereal girl. So, the ethereal girl's palm moved, and a blue ribbon flew out, carrying a weak feeling, like a cloud floating out. Like a spirit snake, the blue ribbon wrapped around the long saber. Stormy waves hitting the shore. The ethereal girl waved out a move, and her aura changed greatly. From the original spring rain, it turned into a raging storm in an instant, with the momentum of rocks piercing through the sky. A vast amount of energy gushed out, and like a wave it hit Ouyang Chongming's body. Pung pung pung. There were a total of 3 waves, and they roared crazily, rushing forward, forming a superimposed power. Puff! Ouyang Chongming's long saber loosened, and his body flew out. What a terrifying power! He was shocked in his heart. The surrounding disciples were also shocked. The 3 waves were like real waves, and they were dozens of meters high, surging in the air. Chapter 235. Although the ethereal girl wasn't like Ziyi, who could kill with a glance, she still finished off her opponent in 2 or 3 moves. Just as everyone was still in shock, the referee's voice rang out again. Next match, Lin Xian versus Bai Jingshan. Everyone's heart was burning again, especially the disciples of Xia Country, who looked at Lin Xian with anticipation. Xia Country had a total of 2 people who entered the finals, and Ouyang Chongming's strength was obviously second tier. So Lin Xian once again became the focus of everyone's attention. Bai Jingshan was a slightly chubby youth, holding a semicircular curved blade. Haha. Let me see how sharp your sword intent is. Bai Jingshan's words carried a trace of arrogance. Just as everyone was puzzled, a blinding light lit up. A light yellow armor appeared on Bai Jingshan's body, covering his vitals. Dark rank treasure. Everyone's heart jumped. No wonder he's so arrogant, so he has a dark rank treasure. Humph. Let's see what Lin Xian will do this time. I don't believe he can break a dark rank treasure. Shadow Country's disciples sneered. Bai Jingshan was pleased. This treasure armor was given to him by the sect's elders last night, and its purpose was to defend against terrifying attacks like sword intent. As long as he could block the sword intent attack, then wouldn't Lin Xian be at his mercy? No matter what, he was a second-grade inscription master and a martial artist in the 7th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, so he still had this bit of confidence. Lin Xian is in danger. Nothing must happen to him. Xia Country's disciples were worried. Dark rank treasure armor? Lin Xian was stunned. Haha. Bai Jingshan saw this scene and laughed proudly. Lin Xian, without the threat of sword intent, you're nothing. Idiot. Lin Xian said indifferently. What, you dare to scold me? You're courting death. Bai Jingshan was so angry that he stomped his feet, and the crescent-shaped curved blade glowed with a cold light as he quickly slashed out. Against you I don't need to use a sword. Lin Xian took a half-squat, took a deep breath and then punched out. Thunder and lightning flashed all over the sky, forming a 20-meter-long thunder dragon. There were golden scales on its body, and they looked very lifelike. Roar! With a dragon roar, the lightning dragon pounced towards Bai Jingshan. Everywhere it passed, everything was charred black. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Bai Jingshan was sent flying while screaming. Plop! The slightly chubby young man was lying on the ground. His entire body was charred black, and blood was flowing out from the corner of his mouth. You! Bai Jingshan crawled up with great difficulty. The moment he opened his mouth, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone shook their heads slightly. This was clearly a sign of internal injuries. Especially those disciples of the Shadow Kingdom. It was as if a basin of cold water had been poured over their heads. They were in an exceptionally sorry state. Humph, even if senior brother Lin doesn't use sword intent, not everyone can contend against him. That's right. Even if you have a tortoise shell, it won't be able to withstand that power. Xia Kingdom's disciples were in a good mood, and they all started to mock him. Indeed, after Lin Xian cultivated the Copper Thunder mark, just the power of his fist alone wasn't something a normal martial artist in the 6th layer of the spiritual ocean realm could withstand. In addition, he had used enough spirit power just now, and his body was covered in golden lightning. This kind of power was something a normal martial artist in the 7th layer of the spiritual ocean realm couldn't withstand. The competition continued, and the 9 strong warriors took turns to go on stage. Shadowless injuries were mostly healed. He must have taken precious pills, and with the treatment of a harmonious spirit tier warrior. His opponent was Rain Country's Yan Bing, who was also a young girl. Whoosh! Shadowless used his ultimate skill as soon as he went on stage and disappeared. Yan Bing could only defend carefully. Her body was covered in tiny water droplets, forming several water curtains. Dance of Death! A huge black sickle suddenly appeared, and with a terrifying presence, it slashed towards Yan Bing. Ka! The water curtains in front of her shattered like mirrors, and a black light slashed Yan Bing's body. The huge power made Yan Bing fly out on the spot, landing on the side. Winner Shadowless. The referee said expressionlessly. The spectators were in an uproar. He actually dared to attack such a beautiful young girl. He was indeed a madman. The Rain Country's disciples all had cold expressions as they stared fiercely at Shadowless. Lin Xian's eyes flashed and he sighed. Shadowless' movement skill was powerful, and normal people couldn't catch him at all. If he hadn't comprehended the Wind Emperor's sword and learned the wind blending style, he probably wouldn't have been able to defeat Shadowless in a short period of time. The finals went on very quickly, and almost all the battles were decided within a few moves. Soon the first round was over and the second round continued. Ouyang Chongming met Ziyi as soon as he came up, and many people sighed for Ouyang Chongming in their hearts. This guy was too unlucky meeting all the top experts. I admit defeat. Ouyang Chongming's voice carried a trace of helplessness. He didn't dare to fight Ziyi. If he suffered another soul attack, he probably wouldn't be able to continue the competition. Next was the battle between Yufei and Shadowless. Everyone was interested and wanted to see who else besides Lin Xian could restrain Shadowless' movement skill. Little girl, just admit defeat obediently. Shadowless sneered, and his figure disappeared. Shua! A huge scythe suddenly appeared on the left side of the ethereal girl, and the black blade quickly slashed out. Xiu! The blue ribbon spun in the air, forming a suction force that caused the blade to deviate from its direction. Ocean's heart palm. With a wave of her hand, the waves roared and rushed over. Whoosh! Shadowless quickly disappeared and merged into the wind again. Humph! The ethereal girl snorted coldly, and her body turned slightly. The blue ribbon in her hand emitted a faint light, and with the ethereal girl as the center, wave after wave rushed out in all directions. It was as if 10,000 horses were galloping, and the speed was extremely fast. The whole arena was filled with waves, and Shadowless couldn't hide at all, and his body was blasted out. Boundless ocean. The ethereal girl's palm emitted a blue light, forming a light pillar, and sent Shadowless flying. Yufei wins, the referee said loudly. Everyone looked at the ethereal girl with respect again. Although it wasn't as sharp as Lin Xian's sword intent, the ethereal girl's strength was undeniable. So far, other than Lin Xian, he was the only one who could defeat Shadowless. Next, Ziyi and Lin Xian went up one after another, and they both defeated their opponents in one move. Soon the second round was over. Half a day later, the fifth round was over. During this time there were wins and losses, but only 3 people were undefeated. They were Lin Xian, Ziyi, and Yufei. The 3 of them fought all the way, and there were no losses. The 6th round began, and the competition progressed quickly. Lin Xian versus Shadowless. The referee's voice rang out and everyone was stunned, and then they looked at the 2 people in the arena. Is the sword intent going to appear again? The disciples of the Great Xia were looking forward to it. In the first 5 rounds, Lin Xian didn't use his sword intent at all, which disappointed them. But now they could see his sword intent again. Humph! Shadowless looked at Lin Xian, and his eyes were full of anger. It was all because of this kid in front of him that he was seriously injured, and so he couldn't use his full strength in today's finals. Thinking of this, a wave of hatred arose in his heart. Sword intent. Shadowless sneered. After yesterday's lesson, he was like the chubby young man wearing a mystic armor. This kind of defense couldn't be broken by sword intent. And without the sword intent, Lin Xian wasn't afraid at all. Whoosh! Chapter 236. Shadowless seems to be very confident this time. Could it be that he has a plan? Everyone was filled with anticipation, especially the disciples of the Dark Shadow Palace. They were all excited. With the Autumn Scar sword in hand, Lin Xian slashed out. The sword pattern was like a sound wave that rippled out. Within 50 meters, the sharp sword ripple formed a ball-shaped attack. Tsk! Tsk! Just as Shadowless was about to get close, he was forcefully pushed back by the wind thunder sword ripple. Stumbling, Shadowless' face was once again filled with fear. The surrounding disciples were also in an uproar. This time Lin Xian broke through Shadowless' movement technique even faster than last time. What Shadowless movement technique? It's nothing in front of senior brother Lin. The disciples of the Xia mocked mercilessly. Lin Xian chuckled. The Wind Emperor stabbed out with his sword, infused with a soul attack, and made Shadowless spit out blood. Everyone was silent. It seemed like Shadowless was no match for Lin Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian's prestige rose once again. Now Lin Xian, Ziyi, and Yufei had become the top 3. The 3 of them maintained a perfect record, and no one could beat them. Obviously, the top 3 would belong to the 3 of them, but no one could be sure who would get first place. Of course, if they won all 8 rounds, they would naturally get first place. Ziyi was a veteran. Plus, with his creepy purple demon eyes, his reputation would be much higher than the other 2. And in the next round, the atmosphere was pushed to the extreme. Next round, Ziyi versus Yufei. The judge announced. The battle between the top 3 was finally about to begin. Everyone was filled with anticipation as they looked at the arena with fiery eyes. Little beauty, just admit defeat. Ziyi immediately launched a powerful soul attack. Purple light flashed in his eyes as he stabbed towards Yufei. Although he was arrogant, his attacks were very sharp. Purple demon eyes? Yufei's expression was cold as blue waves appeared around her. Layer after layer, they wrapped around her. Blue ocean mirror. Her spiritual power surged, and the shadow in front of her suddenly became real. A 2-meter-tall blue mirror appeared in front of Yufei. Cold light flashed and it was as smooth as ice. Ding ding. A low sound of collision rang out, like a silver needle hitting ice. 2 small holes appeared on the surface of the blue mirror, but they did not penetrate it. Yufei stood behind the blue sea mirror with a smile on her face. Everyone was stunned and their minds went blank. He did not expect that Purple Knight's ocular art that had always been successful actually failed. Impossible. Senior Brother Ziyi's attack is a soul attack. How could a mere mirror block it? The people from the Purple Extreme Devil Palace screamed, unable to believe what they were seeing. Hua Yin stood in the crowd, her face slightly pale. She knew how terrifying Ziyi was, but the scene before her gave her a surreal feeling. Not only them, but the elders also cried out in surprise. The elders of Rain Country were all stroking their beards, smiling as they looked at the field. Lin Xian's eyes flashed as he stared intently at the cold and dazzling surface of the mirror. His brows furrowed slightly. It wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. That was all he could see at the moment. In the arena, Ziyi's expression was gloomy as he stared coldly ahead. That scene made him feel a sense of astonishment. It's actually blocked? Ziyi's heart was in turmoil. Then, his gaze gradually became sharp and the purple light formed a strange pattern, but it was somewhat hazy. Illusion. The strange pattern in his eyes spun, bringing with it a strange power. Ziyi looked at Yufei. Bang bang. Bang bang. His gaze passed through the blue sea mirror and was imprinted in Yufei's eyes. In an instant, Yufei felt absent-minded, as if her soul had entered another space. She furrowed her brows and attacked with her soul power. She also bit the tip of her tongue. Her body trembled slightly, and Yufei quickly regained her clarity. Mirror image. Yufei stretched out her palm and pressed it on the blue sea mirror in front of her, circulating her spiritual power. Wang Wang. A faint light appeared on the smooth surface of the mirror, and a blurry figure appeared in the mirror. The figure was as blurry as mist, but his eyes were glowing with purple light. That's Senior Brother Ziyi? Although the figure was blurry, the people from the Purple Extreme Devil Palace still recognized it at a glance. It was actually 60 to 70% similar to Ziyi. Humph, do you think you can resist Senior Brother Ziyi just by creating a human figure? How naive. Admit defeat obediently. The disciples of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace hooted from below. Lin Xian furrowed his brows, and his eyes flashed as he carefully observed everything on the stage. He felt that it wouldn't be so simple. As expected, the eyes of the figure in the mirror turned and met the real Ziyi's eyes. Wang! An invisible power surged out. Ziyi's body trembled, and a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. Impossible! How can you use illusion? He was panicking. His eye technique was actually used by his opponent and he almost fell for it. These eye techniques were the ultimate skills of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace, and without the corresponding secret technique, outsiders couldn't use them at all. But now, someone was using them forcibly. With his shout, everyone was shocked. The elders on the spectators' stand also cried out in surprise. The elders of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace sat together, and their eyes were filled with shock. What kind of martial technique is this? I've never seen it in Rain Country. No wonder the elders of Rain Country are so calm, so they have this kind of technique. Calm down, Ziyi is a genius of our Purple Extreme Devil Palace, and it's impossible for him to lose. Moreover, don't you know what's so special about him? The elder in the middle said in a low voice. We've searched for so many years, and only found one who fits the requirements. Only he could unleash the full power of the Purple Extreme Devil Eyes. Yufei's counterattack indeed shocked everyone. That blue mirror seemed to be a real mirror, and not only could it reflect a person's figure, it could also copy a technique. Right copy. This was Lin Xian's feeling. It's somewhat similar to the Great Dragon Sword Seal, Lin Xian muttered in a low voice. The Great Dragon Sword Seal was an offensive saint technique, and could simulate and evolve everything. He had a trace of the sword seal and could also simulate the opponent's technique, but the core was still based on his own attributes. And the ethereal girl's technique was a complete copy. How much of the original strength does the copied martial technique have? I'll have to personally experience it. Lin Xian wasn't too sure. But one thing was for sure, and that was the power was definitely not weak. Otherwise, Ziyi wouldn't have such an expression. I seem to feel a trace of bloodline power, Wine Lord suddenly said. Bloodline? Lin Xian was slightly startled. He had never heard of it before. Although it's very weak, it's the power of bloodline, Wine Lord said slowly after sensing it. I didn't expect to see the power of bloodline here. And it's a very special kind. Chapter 237. Yufei's martial arts technique shocked everyone. Copying someone else's martial arts technique, this kind of thing was appalling. However, just as everyone was discussing animatedly, Ziyi moved. He was like a purple shooting star, rushing towards Yufei at lightning speed. With a wave of his palm, a row of purple palm shadows joined together, surging towards the blue sea mirror with violent energy. Ziyi's target was the blue sea mirror. As long as he could shatter this mirror, then he would be able to use eye techniques. His speed was very fast and he was about to touch the blue sea mirror. And at this time another change occurred. In the mirror, that blurry figure also waved out a row of palm shadows. The palm wind was fierce, surging towards Ziyi. Hung long long. Two similar palm shadows collided, forming a dazzling ball of light, and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Whoosh! Ziyi's face was gloomy, but he did not give up. Since he could not shatter the mirror, then he would change the direction of attacking Yufei herself. On the arena, purple afterimages were left behind, like ghosts and demons. Zai quickly circled behind Yufei and shot out a purple rainbow that was several meters long. The air vibrated and the rainbow was like a flickering light, quickly slashing over. Wang! Yufei's small face was slightly cold, and her body once again emitted a dazzling light. Behind her, another blue sea mirror formed, and at the same time, another smooth mirror appeared beside her. The three blue sea mirrors formed a triangle and surrounded Yufei, forming the most perfect defense. Ziyi was blocked, and his body quickly floated backwards. For a moment the two were in a deadlock, and no one could do anything to the other. How can they fight like this? They are practically in an invincible position. The surrounding disciples' faces were ugly. If there was no way to shatter the blue sea mirror, then no one could hurt Yufei. This was the dilemma that all competitors would face. Could it be that it will end in a draw? The Shadow Country's disciples' faces were ugly. They did not believe that Ziyi would lose. Hung, come out and fight if you have the ability. What kind of ability is hiding behind a mirror? The Purple Extreme Demon Palace's disciples hooted. Idiot, you can't even break the mirror, and still have the face to call yourself number one. The Rain Country's disciples retorted mercilessly. This battle will end in a draw. The referee analyzed the situation and said indifferently. No, it's not over yet. Ziyi's face darkened. He slowly said, I won't lose to anyone. After rejecting a draw, Ziyi's aura gradually became stronger. His purple hair became even more demonic, emitting a faint glow. An indescribable power gushed out from his body, causing his aura to double. As for the surrounding disciples, they felt a wave of pressure that caused the aura within their bodies to churn. It's so uncomfortable. What happened? Some of the weaker disciples turned pale. Lin Xian also felt a wave of pressure. It was as if his body was instinctively trembling. Humph! With a cold snort, the great dragon sword will in his body resonated. The dragon pattern on the mysterious little sword emitted a light, and the head of the huge dragon seemed to be real. In an instant, the uncomfortable pressure disappeared. Bloodline power. I didn't expect another person with bloodline power. Wine Lord exclaimed. Is this the power of the bloodline? Lin Xian recalled the palpitating pressure from before, and a trace of vigilance appeared in his heart. This Ziyi was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Aside from him, some of the older generation elders on the spectator stand also looked shocked. On Rain Country's side, An old man in white robes said with a trembling voice. It's actually also the power of the bloodline. I wonder how it compares to Yufei's? Damn it, how could someone from the Purple Extreme Demon Palace have the power of the bloodline? Just as Rain Country was filled with shock and anger, the elders of Shadow Country were also looking serious. To actually be able to make Ziyi use the power of the bloodline, it seems that the opponent is really not simple. Both of them have the power of the bloodline, then let's see whose bloodline is stronger. An elder of the Purple Extreme Demon Palace said in a low voice. After activating the power of the bloodline, Ziyi seemed to have changed into a different person, emitting a powerful aura. And in his eyes there was a sense of confidence, as if no one could stop him. Feeling Ziyi's pressure, Yufei, who was opposite him, no longer hid. Water-like patterns appeared on her body, and in between her brows, a symbol in the shape of a water droplet appeared. This is the power of the bloodline? It's really powerful. Lin Xian felt the two's auras and took a deep breath. On the stage, Ziyi launched a powerful attack. And this time the blue sea mirror could not be replicated. Spiritual power surged, palm shadows filled the air, and the two fought together. Ziyi should be using a bloodline technique. This kind of martial arts technique can only be used by the corresponding bloodline, and cannot be replicated, Wine Lord explained. Lin Xian nodded. No wonder the blue sea mirror could not be used. It seemed that the power of the bloodline was really mysterious. In the future, you will find that martial artists who have the power of the bloodline are the real powerful beings in this world. Wine Lord said slowly. But you don't have to be discouraged. If you can find the great dragon sword, then there is no bloodline in this world that can resist you. Great dragon sword bloodline. Lin Xian murmured. This world is really wonderful. He was not afraid. On the contrary, a fighting spirit surged out from his body. The great dragon sword intent seemed to sense this fighting spirit, and let out a dragon's roar. At this time on the stage the two people were locked in battle. Ziyi deployed the purple extreme devil pupils, wanting to use ocular arts to heavily injure Yufei. But the water droplet rune on Yufei's glabella protected her soul very well, not giving Ziyi the slightest chance at all. Everyone shook their heads. Looks like the two people could not decide the victor within a short time. Alright, this match is a draw, the referee said solemnly. Bang! The two people clashed a palm and separated once more. This time Ziyi did not say anything. Using the power of the bloodline, his trump cards were already all used. But this still did not finish off his opponent. Moreover, this was also not the last round. He did not need to risk his life. Humph! Snorting coldly, Ziyi walked down the stage with a grim face. The following matches were rather dull. Everyone was still immersed in Ziyi and Yufei's battle. That kind of bloodline power made them yearn for it. But this kind of power was not what anyone could possess. This bloodline power was more like a kind of inheritance. It was said that only when the ancestor produced a peerless expert could it possibly mutate the bloodline, passing down this kind of power from there. For a moment, Ziyi and Yufei's fame surpassed everyone, reaching the pinnacle. After the sixth round ended, Lin Xian maintained a complete victory, while Ziyi and Yufei had a draw. Among the 9 participating disciples, Lin Xian was in the lead. But everyone was not optimistic about Lin Xian. With 2 great bloodline inheritors around, the others had no chances of winning at all. The Purple Extreme Devil Palace's disciples looked at Lin Xian with a cold smile on their faces. What's the use of a complete victory now? When he encounters senior apprentice brother Ziyi later, he'll definitely be defeated. Chapter 238. The disciples of Xia Country were worried. After witnessing the power of the bloodline, they felt powerless. I wonder if Lin Xian has bloodline power? They all looked at Lin Xian with hope. Are you kidding? What do you think bloodline power is? Cabbage? There might not even be one in the entire Xia Country. The disciples of Shadow Country mercilessly attacked. Indeed, bloodline power was pitifully rare. Only a small number of people had it. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had yet to display any bloodline power. Lin Xian's complete victory made Ziyi very unhappy. In his opinion, Lin Xian was just lucky that he did not meet him. Otherwise he would not have won. Under everyone's anticipation, the 7th round began. The first round, Lin Xian against Ziyi. As soon as the referee's voice sounded, the entire valley boiled. The disciples of Shadow Country all laughed with arrogant looks. You can just wait to die if you meet Senior Brother Ziyi. Senior Brother Ziyi can kill Lin in a second with a glance. The disciples of Xia Country looked at Lin Xian worriedly. But after seeing Lin Xian's calm face, they calmed down a lot. In the stands, Elder Song and Elder Gu became nervous again. Lin Xian was their last hope. But Ziyi's strength was beyond their expectations. At least, they did not think that Lin Xian could defeat Ziyi, who had bloodline power. You don't have to win. As long as you stay in the top 3, it's fine, Elder Song said slowly. But he did not know that Lin Xian's goal was to be first, because only first place would get the soul-amassing pill. In the arena, Ziyi looked at the handsome youth opposite him, and the corners of his mouth curled into a sinister smile. Meeting me, your good luck has come to an end. My competition has always relied on strength. I believe you will know soon. Lin Xian smiled indifferently. Hearing this, Ziyi's face sank. You're still stubborn when you're at death's door. I'll let you see my power. Purple demon eyes. Purple light flickered in Ziyi's eyes. Within that purple light, there was a trace of soul power that contained a terrifying amount of energy. Sword Spirit Space. Lin Xian did not dare to be careless and hurriedly used his ultimate move. Runes appeared in his right eye, forming a unique spiritual space that enveloped violet night. Buzz! Boom! The two invisible forces collided in the air, almost tearing the void apart. A translucent mushroom cloud rose into the air, and a terrifying wave of energy spread out in all directions. In the eyes of the crowd, the two of them had only looked at each other, and it had already created such a terrifying aura. Impossible, how can he resist Senior Brother Ziyi's purple blood demon eyes? That's a secret technique of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace. Even Ziyi had a look of surprise. His move was extremely powerful, and among these disciples, only Yufei could resist it. However, the young man in front of him was able to resist it. The purple demon eyes is only a so-so. Show me what other moves you have. Lin Xian coldly shouted, runes flashing in his eyes. He had fought with Ru Shui and Hua Yan before, so he was very familiar with the purple demon eyes. It was not difficult for Lin Xian to deal with it. Purple demon light. Ziyi's attack failed, so he attacked again. 2 rays of light materialized and flew toward Lin Xian like sword rays. Each ray was more than a meter long and as thick as an arm. They were covered in purple gas. Lightning flash. Lin Xian pulled his hands together, and several rays of lightning appeared in his palms, with golden arcs dancing on them. Like sharp lightning blades, the golden rings of lightning rushed toward the blood-colored light beam. Chi! The two merged, and the golden rings of lightning dissipated most of the blood-colored light beam's power before disappearing. Lin Xian quickly dodged the remaining small portion of the attacks. It's time to taste my attack. Lin Xian took a step forward, and his body disappeared from the spot. The air fluctuated slightly, and a figure appeared faintly, moving at an extremely fast speed. This is the concept of wind? Shadowless pupils shrank. Although Lin Xian could not completely merge with the wind like him, this stance was exactly the same as his shadowless step. How did he do it? Shadowless was shocked, but he could not understand. Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast, and he arrived in front of Ziyi in the blink of an eye. The copper lightning rune appeared on his body, and he punched out. It was a simple punch without any fancy moves, and it went straight for Ziyi's heart. The air trembled and cracks appeared on the ground, as if it could not withstand the power. Lin Xian was like the god of thunder, and the power of lightning that made people's hearts tremble instantly exploded. Ziyi's pupils shrank, and he hurriedly blocked, forming several purple spirit energy walls in front of him. Boom! 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 Like thunder from the 9 heavens, the sound shook the 9 heavens. The entire arena trembled slightly, and the air exploded from the impact. The spirit energy walls that Ziyi condensed were instantly shattered. However, this was enough. In the blink of an eye, he had already shot out the purple demon light. This time he even used a trace of the power of his bloodline, and the power increased by several times. 2 light pillars rushed towards Lin Xian, and collided with the lightning fist. Break for me! Lin Xian threw out several punches in succession, forming a lightning shadow in the air. Each punch carried the power of the nine heavens' thunder, and it blasted forward. It was like a sword colliding with a sword, and it made a metallic sound. The two of them each took a few steps back, and the ground trembled. Bloodline power. Ziyi was furious when he found that Lin Xian could contend with him. The blood in his body boiled, and it emitted an amazing power. A breath that made people's hearts palpitate surged from his body. It's here, the bloodline power. The surrounding disciples of the Shadow Country shouted loudly, as if they had seen the dawn of victory. The disciples of the Xia country had their hearts in the air. Great dragon sword intent. Lin Xian did not dare to be careless. He knew the power of the bloodline power. Only by using all his strength would he have a chance of winning. With the Autumn Scar sword in hand, Lin Xian's aura reached a new height. Like a divine sword being unsheathed, it was unstoppable. Behind him, a dragon-shaped longsword was faintly discernible. Sword drawing technique. The longsword was unsheathed, and it carried the power of wind and thunder. It formed a sword chi that was dozens of meters long in the air, and it slashed towards Ziyi. At the same time, Ziyi's eyes shone with a terrifying light. It was like two light pillars that swept out in all directions. Clang! Clang! An ear-piercing sound rang out. It was like thousands of swords clashing together, and the clouds in the sky were pierced. The air in the surroundings was boiling, rolling like the waves of the sea. Some of the disciples who were close to the arena all felt their blood boil, and they fell to the ground. Back off! These people backed off in fear, and they left the arena. Lin Xian pulled out his sword, and he waved it continuously. Every sword had the power to split mountains, and it formed a sword screen in the air. Fall! Thousands of sword lights flashed, and they pressed towards Ziyi. Before the sword chi even reached him, countless sword marks had already appeared on the ground. Purple comes from the east. Ziyi pushed his bloodline power to the extreme, and his body shone with a sun-like light. Chapter 239. Ka! 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 The blood-colored pillar of light brought with it endless pressure, sweeping out in all directions and pushing back the sword chi in the sky. Ha ha! Senior brother Purple Knight is mighty. The power of bloodline is invincible. The disciples of Purple Extreme Demon Palace shouted loudly, their voices shaking the sky. Even the people of the older generation felt their eyelids twitch, secretly exclaiming in admiration. I'm afraid only Yufei can contend against him, an elder of Rain Country said in a low voice. Lin Xian was hit by the blood-colored pillar of light, and his body kept retreating. At the same time, the lightning patterns on his body shone brightly, and only then did he disperse the power. What terrifying power! Lin Xian's heart sank. Only after exchanging blows did he truly feel the terror of bloodline power. And according to Wine Lord, this was only the thinnest bloodline power. His bloodline power can't be used for a long time, so it'll wear him out first. Lin Xian stabbed out with his sword, using the fusion wind style to attack Purple Knight. Suddenly, countless rays of sword chi surged out from all directions, forming a cross that strangled him. Purple Knight's whole body was enveloped in blood chi, and his aura was exuberant. Every move contained terrifying power. With a wave of his palm, it formed a several meters tall purple light palm, blasting out in all directions. At the same time, his body flew out like a shooting star, taking the initiative to approach Lin Xian. Purple Knight didn't want to continue like this. He wanted to conserve his battle power so that he could fight Yufei again. Like a purple phantom, Purple Knight attacked like lightning. The light in his eyes intertwined to form a purple-red net of light, enveloping Lin Xian. At the same time, he attacked left and right, sending out two huge palm shadows, continuously bombarding Lin Xian. In an instant, Lin Xian's three directions were all attacked, and the space was about to explode from the pressure. Lin Xian's face darkened slightly, and he could only retreat. But he couldn't retreat. Through his soul power, he could feel that Purple Knight's aura was getting stronger and stronger, and this aura directly affected the battle power of both sides. So he couldn't let Purple Knight continue to be so tyrannical. Moreover, as a swordsman, he would rather break than bend, and it was even more impossible for him to retreat. Sword light flashed in his eyes. Lin Xian raised his sword horizontally and lightly stabbed out. The wind was light and the clouds were light, as if it was a casual sword strike. However, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. as if they had been stabbed. Wind Emperor's sword. Lin Xian ignored the palms of light on both sides. His eyes only focused on Violet Knight. This sword contained 50% of the Wind Emperor's power. It was one of Lin Xian's strongest attacks. Qi. The sword light flashed past like a fleeting shadow. It was extremely fast. The light palms on both sides were severed at the waist, turning into fragments and dissipating. The purple-red light beam in front was also blocked. It was a light sword, but it was as heavy as 10,000 pounds. The surrounding wind seemed to have merged into the sword, and a vacuum appeared in front of it. Cracks appeared on the purple-red pillar of light, and Violet Knight's aura was blocked. "You can't stop it," Ziyi shouted as he exerted more strength in his body. His bloodline aura became even more powerful as a blood-red light enveloped the entire area. This is... In the distance, the ethereal girl Yufei's expression also changed when she felt this bloodline power. What a powerful bloodline! She sighed slightly. Even she had to use all her strength to deal with such an attack. How could Lin Xian, who didn't have any bloodline power, block it? Facing such a sharp attack, Lin Xian's eyes revealed a trace of determination. He gripped the Autumn Scar sword tightly and pushed his sword intent to the extreme. A dragon head appeared behind him, looking ferocious and terrifying. A dragon roar sounded. Outer Sky Meteor. Lin Xian didn't hesitate to use his spiritual energy, and used an ultimate move that he hadn't used for a long time. He had been practicing this move every day. Its power was above the Wind Emperor's sword, but it consumed too much energy. Under normal circumstances, Lin Xian wouldn't use it. However, he couldn't care less right now. As the sword light flashed, Lin Xian was like a shooting star as he quickly streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of light behind him. Qi. Peng. Ka. The blood-red light beam was knocked away, and a crack appeared on one of them. Violet Knight, on the other hand, was in even more danger. This sword was clearly aimed at him. With his life in danger, he couldn't care less about hiding anymore. His blood surged, forming a blood-red armor to protect his vitals. Peng! The long sword pierced 3 inches into the armor, and the powerful impact sent Violet Knight flying. Pooh! Violet Knight flew 30 meters in the air before he was sent flying by a powerful force. He landed on the ground in a sorry state, and countless cracks appeared on the ground. Whoosh! Everyone was stunned. Even someone as strong as Violet Knight was sent flying after using his bloodline power. Impossible! How is this possible? How can that Lin guy know this kind of martial skill? The group was stunned. In the distance, Yufei also frowned. This scene was beyond her expectations. You dare to hurt me? Violet Knight climbed up from the ground and roared crazily. Who was he? He was the eldest disciple of the Purple Demon Palace, and also the owner of a bloodline power. Before this, he had never taken anyone seriously. However, not long ago, a young girl displayed a bloodline power that was as strong as his, and he fought her to a draw. But now, a person without bloodline power had actually knocked him to the ground. This was something he couldn't accept. "I'll tear you to pieces, and I'll make you suffer the pain of your soul burning." Violet Knight's face was twisted, and his voice was filled with endless killing intent. His bloodline power surged wildly into his eyes, causing his purple pupils to turn blood-red. Soulfire! A deep voice sounded, as if it came from the netherworld. Everyone's heart trembled, and they felt as if their souls were being burned. Could it be that kind of secret technique? The disciples of the Purple Demon Palace were shocked. Hua Yan's beautiful face was also filled with shock. She had heard of this secret technique before, but it was said that no one in the younger generation could use it. I didn't expect him to be able to use this kind of secret technique. The elders on the spectator stand were also shocked. The ones with the ugliest expressions were Elder Song and Elder Gu. The two of them knew how terrifying the soul fire was. It was simply the bane of souls. Lin Xian admit defeat. The two of them prayed in their hearts. They didn't want anything to happen to Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian didn't show the fear that they had imagined. He even smiled faintly. Soulfire, huh? Back then, Wine Lord had broken down several inscriptions from the stone eyeball, and one of them was the soul fire. However, Lin Xian had used it in the form of the soul sword. He had thought that the soul sword would be more powerful when combined with the great dragon sword intent. However, the fusion hadn't succeeded yet, but Lin Xian had mastered the soul sword. His left eye flashed, and his soul power formed an invisible sword that circled around his body. Whoosh! A ball of soul fire suddenly appeared, trying to burn his soul, but it was instantly extinguished by the soul sword. Violet Knight's pupils shrank. He could feel his soul fire being extinguished, and it made him very uneasy. The soul fire could burn any expert below the harmonious spirit realm. Its power was unimaginable. However, Lin Xian was unharmed, and he even extinguished the soul fire. Chapter 240. There was an uproar when the audience found out the truth. To be able to resist even the soul fire, this was already beyond their imagination. Is Lin Xian the strongest? Such a thought suddenly appeared in everyone's mind. Violet Knight had to use his bloodline power to fight to a draw with Lin Xian. Even his soul fire couldn't hurt him. I don't believe you can block it a second time. Violet Knight's face darkened as he activated his soul fire again. The runes in Lin Xian's eyes revolved as he also used his strongest soul attack. Soul Sword. The invisible sword energy collided with the flames and fused with each other. In the end, both turned to dust. Seeing this, everyone was completely convinced of Lin Xian's strength. It was definitely not luck that he could extinguish the soul fire twice in a row. In the distance, the ethereal girl Yufei looked at the arena with a serious expression. Lin Xian's strength was enough to threaten her. This made her feel uneasy. In the arena, Violet Knight's eyes revealed a trace of confusion. How can I lose? I can't lose. In the next moment, the confusion in his eyes was replaced by ferocity. His eyes once again emitted a blood-red glow. Secret technique Blood Eye World. Violet Knight used all his strength to roar. Lin Xian's mind shook as if it was being sucked away by a strange power. The scene changed, and the surroundings became a sea of blood and a mountain of bones. This is my bloodline world. I am the absolute ruler here. Violet Knight's voice was filled with hatred. I will torture you to death bit by bit. Blood Eye Ghost General, come out. Lin Xian was nailed to the ground and couldn't move. Sinister humanoid creatures appeared around him. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced over. The invisible sword energy swept past and cut the humanoid creatures in half. Lin Xian kept trying to fuse the soul sword with the great dragon sword intent, and finally succeeded on the 13th try. Dragon Soul Sword! Lin Xian shouted. A dragon's roar rang out as the invisible sword energy turned into an azure dragon. It soared into the sky and collided with the entire space. As if a heavenly blade had slashed across, the Blood Eye world cracked and shattered. Ah! A pained cry sounded out as Violet Knight's body trembled. Large amounts of blood flowed out of his left eye, looking extremely terrifying. My eyes! You destroyed my Blood Eye world! Ziyi covered his eyes and gasped for breath. He was afraid. That was his strongest attack, yet it still couldn't beat Lin Xian. Not only that, but his eyes were also severely injured. Alright, that's enough. Violet Knight admits defeat. A dignified voice rang out with a hint of anger. Everyone looked over and saw an elder from the Purple Extreme Devil Palace speaking with a gloomy expression. Lin Xian wins. The referee took a deep breath and announced slowly. The audience was in an uproar, and many disciples of the Shadow Country were dumbfounded. Ziyi, whom they worshipped, had actually been defeated. Furthermore, he had been defeated by a disciple of China. It was hard for them to accept such a situation. As for the Xia country's disciples, they were so excited that they danced with joy. To be able to defeat Shadow Country's most powerful genius, they felt so good in their hearts. As for the Rain country's disciples, they had complicated expressions. Although Ziyi was defeated and they felt good in their hearts, Lin Xian had become their greatest enemy. In the stands, Elder Song and Elder Gu clapped and laughed. They hadn't been so happy in a long time. Brilliant, too brilliant. China is really lucky to have Lin Xian. In the distance, the elders of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace had gloomy expressions, and a hint of killing intent appeared in their eyes. This kind of genius can't be allowed to live. Of course, this kind of thing had to be done secretly, and they couldn't let the Inscription Alliance get hold of it. On the stage, Ziyi was taken away, but his face was full of unwillingness. Thinking back to the beginning of the competition, he looked down on the world and didn't put anyone in his eyes. But now he was defeated with serious injuries. This kind of contrast made him very sullen, and he couldn't wait to kill Lin Xian immediately. "I'll definitely avenge my left eye." Ziye's heart was full of killing intent. "I'll be the final winner." After 7 rounds of competition, Lin Xian maintained a clean victory and was ranked first. Everyone looked at him in awe, with mixed feelings in their hearts. The last round was about to begin, and if Lin Xian didn't lose, then he would be this time's champion. The disciples of Rain Country were extremely nervous, because only Yufei hadn't fought with Lin Xian yet. The 8th round of competition began. The participating disciples went up one after another. This time they didn't hold back and gave it their all. Ouyang, Changming, Wu Ying, and the others went up one after another, and each battle was more exciting than the last. And Lin Xian didn't move at all. He was comprehending the mystery of the fusion of the soul sword and the great dragon sword intent. That kind of attack was beyond his expectations. In the next round, Lin Xian versus Yufei. Everyone was shocked, and then their eyes were filled with passion. It's here, it's finally here. This was the final battle, and it would determine who would be the champion. Lin Xian, dressed in a green robe, had a calm expression. Yufei, as ethereal as a fairy, untainted by the mortal world. The two of them stood facing each other, forming 2 powerful auras. Behind Yufei, it was as if there was a boundless ocean drowning everything. And behind Lin Xian, there was a sword that reached the heavens, holding up the earth and the sky. The 2 forces clashed, and it was as if 2 giant stars had collided, creating sparks in the air. At this moment, the surrounding disciples were silent. They felt as if 2 huge mountains were pressing down on their heads, making it difficult for them to breathe. Without a doubt, Lin Xian and Yufei were already above everyone else. These 2 were both favored by the heavens. On the spectators' stand, many elders sighed in admiration. Indeed, Lin Xian and Yufei, one had comprehended sword intent, and had an unusually strong soul power, while the other had a rare bloodline power, and had extremely strong battle prowess. Moreover, besides them there was also Ziyi. Although he had lost, no one doubted his strength. In the competition of the past 100 years, this was the most intense. In the past, any one of Lin Xian, Yufei, and Yufei could become the champion, but this time there were actually 3 champions at the same time. "You're very strong, but I won't lose." On the stage, the ethereal girl Yufei's voice was filled with confidence. "Then let's fight." Lin Xian did not waste any words, and he clenched his long sword tightly. The 2 of them secretly circulated their spiritual power, waiting for the right time to attack. Rumble, behind Yufei, a blue phantom of the ocean appeared. The waves were dozens of meters high, and they were constantly crashing, almost filling the entire sky. And Lin Xian, with his long sword in hand, emitted a sword aura, as if a peerless divine sword was floating above everyone's heads. Wind thunder slash. Lin Xian drew his sword, and the sword light flashed, forming the power of wind and thunder, cutting through the sky. With one slash, the wind howled in the sky, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. All kinds of terrifying scenes filled the world. Yufei frowned, and immediately used her bloodline power. 3 feet in front of her, a 2-meter-tall blue sea mirror appeared, and a figure appeared in the smooth mirror. Chapter 241. The 2 flashes of sword light collided in midair, quickly tearing apart and blending together. The sword light was like rain, scattering in all directions. Lin Xian had seen this kind of technique when he was below the stage, but experiencing it personally was a different feeling. "I don't believe you can duplicate my sword intent." Lin Xian took a deep breath, and the 3-feet-long blade once again drew an arc of sword qi. Like a crimson waterfall, it was at least a few dozen meters long, as if the Milky Way was hanging upside down, slashing towards the blue sea mirror. This strike contained the sword intent of the great dragon, and its attack power was increased by several times. Yufei's expression changed slightly. She stepped lightly, and merged with the blue sea mirror in front of her. Suddenly a fierce aura rose from her body like sword intent. With a wave of her arm, a flash of sword light shot into the sky. Dang! 2 flashes of brilliant sword qi surged in the air, and the terrifying sword light illuminated all directions. Lin Xian used the wind thunder steps, and retreated rapidly. On the opposite side, the ethereal girl Yufei also quickly retreated. "Good. Good job, senior sister Yufei. Seeing this scene, the disciples of Rain Country all cheered. Previously, they were worried that Lin Xian's sword intent was too strong, but now it looked like Yufei was completely capable of handling it. Facing off against one's own technique, this was probably the saddest thing. Lin Xian's eyes flashed, and he carefully felt that sword strike just now. No, it's not quite the same. He found a flaw. Although it was very similar, it was indeed not the same. People who had not comprehended sword intent could not display the true meaning of sword intent at all. Change to another move. This move is useless against me. Lin Xian's lips curled up in a smile. Yufei frowned. She could feel that Lin Xian was not the kind of person who would speak arrogantly. However, the disciples below the stage obviously did not believe him. On the mysterious small sword in his body, the dragon-shaped pattern glowed, revealing a vast intent. Lin Xian's eyes were firm, revealing the aura of a powerful cultivator. With a sword in hand, I am invincible. At this moment, Lin Xian showed the elegance of a swordsman. He moved like the wind, and the long sword in his hand slashed out rapidly. Every slash was capable of breaking a mountain. On the other side, Yufei did the same as Lin Xian. She also slashed out dozens of sword qi, shaking the void. It's useless. You don't understand sword intent at all. Lin Xian's voice was like thunder, exploding in the void. Melting wind style, hurricane style, wind-splitting style, gale form. Four major sword moves were launched at the same time, and the entire arena was engulfed in terrifying energy fluctuations. Sword qi that could topple mountains and seas, each stronger than the last, formed a terrifying phenomenon in the sky. Yufei also struck out with her sword to counter Lin Xian. However, she soon realized that the moves she simulated were losing ground. What kind of power is this? Why can't I replicate it? A trace of panic appeared in her heart. However, as a genius, Yufei was very decisive. He immediately gave up on the blue sea mirror and used his most powerful move. With the power of her bloodline, her martial skill was several times stronger than before. Sure enough, it was still his own martial skills that were more handy. Yufei calmed down. Boundless ocean. Above the sky, 7 layers of waves rolled up, superimposed on each other, and collided with Lin Xian's sword qi. Finally gave up? Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly, and a terrifying gaze burst out from his eyes. It was like a sword beam piercing through the void. Layers of waves came one after another. Yufei's body floated up, and with the 7 waves she quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Wind Emperor's sword. The 4 major sword skills merged to form a sword. This sword was like a breeze, incomparably illusory, and like a fierce wind, it contained a terrifying killing intent. The 7 layers of waves were quickly split apart, and the sword qi was also rapidly depleted. Finally, the two cancelled each other out in the air. At this moment, the power of Yufei's bloodline flourished, forming a terrifying attack. 7 layers of waves palm. With a wave of her palm, the 7 layers of waves behind her merged, forming a huge wave that was close to 100 meters long. A monstrous wave of energy gushed out, rolling in the void, and quickly rushed in front of Lin Xian. Boom! The power of bloodline exploded, exploding on Lin Xian's body. Pooh! Lin Xian activated the armor on his body at the first instant, defending himself. But that turbulent energy still made him continuously retreat. After flying for more than 50 meters, Lin Xian landed on the stage. Instantly, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Injured? Lin Xian was actually injured. Haha. Senior sister Yufei is mighty. The power of bloodline is invincible. The disciples of Rain Country danced with joy. Yufei's eyes were also shining, and a powerful bloodline power spread out from her body. Lin Xian slowly stood up, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. The power of bloodline is indeed powerful. He laughed loudly and walked forward. Boom! With every step he took, the aura on his body became stronger. With only a few steps, Lin Xian crossed more than 30 meters, and the aura on his body became stronger and stronger. In the end, his whole person was like a heavenly sword, incomparably sharp. Blazing sword qi spurted out from his body, connecting into one in the sky. Sword intent surged, seeming to have surpassed the past. An even more powerful aura surged out from his body, and wherever it passed, The stones on the ground flew. Lin Xian's sword intent at this moment had broken through 20% and was quickly moving towards the small success of sword intent. Although it had not reached the small success of sword intent compared to before, it was much more powerful. Under this fierce aura, Yufei's expression finally changed. Her body, including her soul, had a trace of fear. Power of bloodline suppress. Yufei tried her best to suppress this fear, and then used all her power to resist. Blue sea connecting sky. Spiritual power surged, and the sea and sky merged into one, becoming indistinguishable. And at this moment Lin Xian stabbed out with his sword. The sword chi was like a dragon, roaring fiercely, and suddenly fell, destroying everything in front of it. Chi. The sea and sky attacks were forcibly torn apart, and a huge crack almost 100 meters wide appeared in the air. The sword chi with an invincible aura slashed toward Yufei. The armor on her body was shattered, and a trace of fear appeared in Yufei's eyes. She finally stopped resisting and quickly retreated. However, the attack that was close to the small success of sword intent was beyond her imagination, and that sword still managed to break through her defense. Boom! The earth trembled and a terrifying crack appeared on the black ground, spreading all the way to the distance. Whoosh! Lin Xian's face was a little pale. The sword just now had consumed most of his essence, chi, and spirit, and the spiritual power in his body was almost depleted. However, the results obtained were also extremely good. Not only did he have a breakthrough in sword intent, but he also seriously injured his opponent. On the ground in the distance, Yufei fell to the ground with blood on her body. She struggled for a while and finally fainted. Whoosh! A figure flashed and took her away. The winner, Lin Xian. The referee took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Lin Xian's performance was beyond his expectations. He originally thought that the winner would be Yufei, who had the power of bloodline, but he did not expect it to be Lin Xian. Lin Xian bowed to the referee and then walked down. The younger generation will surpass us in time, the referee whispered. Chapter 242. After a long while, cries of surprise erupted from the crowd. What a terrifying strike! My mind was almost destroyed. Damn it! How could there be such a terrifying strike? Is he really only a spiritual ocean tier martial artist? Senior sister, you lost. This is impossible. I must be dreaming. Wake me up. The disciples of Rain Country cried loudly. They could not believe that the goddess in their hearts would lose. However, the truth was right in front of their eyes. Even if they were heartbroken, they could only accept it. The disciples of Xia Country were in a daze. They could not believe this fact. All this time they had always been in last place at the bottom of the rankings. Even in the previous few competitions, no one was able to make it into the top 3. But this time, not only did they make it into the top 3, they even won first place in one go. This was almost a heaven-defying feat. Everyone's face was full of joy, and they welcomed Lin Xian down. A group of people surrounded him, all cheering and cheering. On the spectators' stand, Elder Song and Elder Gus' body trembled slightly, and there was a slight tremor in their voices. We won, we really won. Our Xia Country won first place. The joy of victory hit them hard. It could not be helped. For so many years, Xia Country had been bullied and looked down upon. But now they had won first place. In the future, no one would be able to laugh at them, and Xia Country's disciples could also hold their heads high. Thinking of this, many Xia Country's disciples looked at Lin Xian, their eyes full of gratitude. However, the competition was not over, and there were still disciples who wanted to compete on the stage. In the end, Ziyi and Yufei fought again, fighting for second place. The two fought and Ziyi won by half a move. When the judge announced that Lin Xian was this year's champion, the whole valley reverberated with the laughter of Xia Country's disciples. The disciples of Rain Country could only accept this fact helplessly. Yufei's face had already returned to normal. Lin Xian was indeed stronger than her. She had nothing to say about this. However, the people of Purple Extreme Demon Palace looked gloomy. Ziyi's face was full of unwillingness, and there was a hint of killing intent in his eyes. Finally, the judge sent by the Inscription Union began to give out the rewards. The top 3 would have the qualifications to enter the Inscription Tower, and the first place would be rewarded with an additional spirit gathering pill. After receiving the pill, Lin Xian consumed it on the spot and began to refine it under the protection of Elder Song and the others. This action instantly severed the purple extreme devil palace's last shred of hope. Ziyi looked at Lin Xian's figure, his eyes almost spitting fire. His left eye was hazy, which was the result of his heavy injuries. The others were also envious, but they could only watch from afar. One day later, Lin Xian opened his eyes. A powerful soul force spread out, causing the nearby disciples to tremble. What a tyrannical soul force! Could it be that Lin Xian broke through again? Everyone looked at Lin Xian with uncertain expressions. Elder Song and Elder Gu were also looking forward to it. This was the peak of second-grade inscription. Yes, this was indeed the peak of second-grade inscription. The two elders smiled with relief. A 17-year-old with the strength of a peak second-grade inscription master. Such a thing had never happened before. The others sucked in a breath of cold air, looking at Lin Xian with envy. Generally speaking, from the early stage to the peak of second-grade inscription master, it would take at least a few decades. However, Lin Xian had actually used a single pill to deal with it. How could everyone not be jealous? The inscription tower will be open tomorrow. Before that, you should rest well, Elder Song said. In the past 2 days of competition, Lin Xian's body and spirit had consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, his soul force had suddenly skyrocketed, so he needed to consolidate it. Nodding, Lin Xian closed his eyes once again. The night passed by quickly. When Lin Xian opened his eyes again, it was already the next day. After a day of consolidation, his soul force had completely stabilized. Apart from the elders of the older generation, his soul power was the strongest among all of the elders present. If he were to compete with Ziyi now, he was confident that he could end the battle with his soul force within 3 moves. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian had a trace of expectation in his heart. A single spirit amassing pill had already caused a huge change in his strength. He wondered how much the inscription tower could increase his strength. Following Elder Song to the northwest corner of the valley, Lin Xian found that the other harmonious spirit elders were all here. There were a total of 8 people standing in 8 different directions, forming a formation. Each of them struck a mysterious rune in the void, and everyone constantly moved their positions. A rumbling sound came from the sky, and the ground trembled. A hazy shadow appeared in front of them, like the moon in the mirror, very ethereal. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the shadow gradually became real. At the same time, there was a sense of palpitations. 100 meters tall stone tower appeared in front of everyone, emitting an ancient aura. "You 3 come here quickly," one of the elders shouted in a low voice. Hearing this, Lin Xian and the other 2 quickly walked over. "We are going to open the inscription tower now. Go in and comprehend it well. Remember, you only have 1 day. After 1 day, you must return to the first floor. Otherwise, you will never be able to come out." Lin Xian was slightly shocked, but he remembered all the important points. Rumble. The stone door of the first floor slowly opened. It was a little dark inside, and Soul Force couldn't explore it. Lin Xian and the other 2 didn't hesitate and quickly rushed in. Behind them, many disciples' eyes were filled with envy. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 of them turned into rays of light and entered the inscription tower. Boom! The stone door of the first floor slowly closed. I wonder what kind of fortune Lin Xian will get in there? Elder Song had a trace of expectation in his heart. The light dimmed, and the stone door completely closed. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. His soul force was limited in here. With his strength as a peak second-grade spirit rune master, he could only use 30% of his strength. However, not only him, Ziyi and Yufei were the same. This could be seen from the expressions on their faces. With a cold snort, Ziyi quickly left the first floor. Lin Xian ignored him. The Purple Demon Palace had entered the inscription tower more than once, so they must have a lot of guides in their hands. "Young Master Lin, see you in 1 day." Yufei whispered behind him and left. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He wasn't in a hurry to leave, but instead looked around. Although the light was a little dim, Lin Xian could still see the situation around him. There were many patterns carved on the walls. There were all kinds of patterns as if they were real. He little Xian, comprehend the first floor well. Wine Lord chuckled and transmitted his voice. Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. Wine Lord, is there something special about the first floor? 10,000 zhang tall buildings are built from the ground. The foundation is very important. Lin Xian touched his chin and carefully sensed. Sitting down cross-legged, Lin Xian closed his eyes and pondered. Gradually, he seemed to sense that many figures appeared around him. They were all young disciples practicing basic inscriptions. Chapter 243. Lin Xian felt this scene and was moved. This should be a reappearance of the past. Carefully feel their inscriptions and compare them with your own. Wine Lord transmitted. Lin Xian carefully felt it and compared it with his own knowledge. He benefited greatly. He felt that his soul force had become purer and thicker, and it didn't feel like it had just been raised. What a wonderful feeling. Lin Xian was happy. He waited until the effect became very small before he stood up. Not counting anything else, just the fact that he had tempered his soul force made Lin Xian's trip worthwhile. Once again, Lin Xian looked at the walls and tried to comprehend them. The inscriptions were very simple and not complicated, but Lin Xian felt an inexplicable aura. It was as if every stroke contained the truth of the inscriptions. Lin Xian made a decision. He didn't plan to go to the upper floors, but was determined to carefully study the inscriptions on the first floor. First, the inscriptions seemed simple, but they contained profound mysteries. Secondly, his soul force had improved greatly. In a short period of time, he had completed a journey that took others hundreds of years. He needed to completely consolidate it. Haha, not bad. Wine Lord nodded with satisfaction. You can give up on the upper floors and focus on the first floor. I'm afraid there is no other person with this kind of courage. Indeed, all the geniuses who entered the inscription tower couldn't wait to rush to the upper floors. No one had ever stayed on the first floor for such a long time. Not to mention comprehending anything. If you comprehended the first floor, the benefits would be huge. It would be far better than anything else. With Wine Lord's support, Lin Xian was even more relieved. He concentrated on comprehending. The Great Tao was simple. This sentence was applicable to any kind of cultivation. Lin Xian understood many things from these inscriptions. Some of the areas that were usually unclear were smoothed out. Of course, the more he thought about it, the more he found the inscriptions to be unfathomable. Finally, he imprinted all the inscriptions in his mind. A day passed quickly. It was about time to leave. Ziyi and Yufei came down from the upper floors. The two of them were pleasantly surprised. It was obvious that they had obtained a lot of benefits. However, when the two of them saw Lin Xian's figure sitting cross-legged, they were stunned. This guy wouldn't stay in the first level all the time, right? Yufei had a puzzled look on her face while Ziyi sneered. The two of them ignored Lin Xian and paid no attention to the pictures on the walls. As far as they were concerned, how could there be anything good on the first level? An hour later, the stone door opened again. Ziyi took the lead and charged out. Yufei followed closely behind, and Lin Xian was the last. He slowly stood up and bowed to his surroundings before walking towards the stone door. Whoosh! Whoosh! The four patterns flashed and entered his mind. Lin Xian felt energized. He felt that he could easily see the four carvings. Suppressing his excitement, Lin Xian walked out of the stone tower. Laughter rang out from the purple extreme devil palace. They must have gotten something good. Rain countryside was also filled with cheers. Ziyi reached the 8th level and Yufei reached the 7th level. Both of them had gotten something good. Lin Xian, which level are you on? Elder Song asked. Hearing this, the disciples of the other two countries also pricked up their ears. Humph, I thought he was some kind of genius. Who would have thought that he's actually an idiot? Ziyi sneered. Your Xia country's genius actually stayed on the first level for an entire day. What a joke. What? Everyone was stunned and looked at Lin Xian. Many people sneered and some were puzzled. In their eyes, Lin Xian wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Elder Song and Elder Gu were also surprised and looked at Lin Xian in confusion. Lin Xian didn't want to say anything. Since they misunderstood, then let them misunderstand. This way it would save him a lot of trouble. I just consolidated my soul power and spent some time. Sigh, many people sighed. That was the inscription tower. There were so many good things inside and they were wasted by Lin Xian just like that. Elder Song and Elder Gu sighed and didn't say anything else. They would rest for a while and return tomorrow. Everyone dispersed and prepared for their return journey. At night, Lin Xian found the two elders and asked for some jade slips. Lin Xian, what do you want this for? Elder Song and Elder Gu didn't understand. Lin Xian held the jade slip in his hand and copied a picture on the wall into it. He handed it to the two elders. These days I'm indebted to the two elders for your care. Here are some inscription pictures from the inscription tower. They might be useful to the two elders. Elder Song and Elder Gu were slightly surprised. They didn't think that Lin Xian would give them something like this. Using their soul power, the two elders saw a very simple inscription picture, but upon closer inspection, it didn't seem that simple. This is. Elder Song was a third-rank inscription master, and his knowledge far surpassed ordinary people. Although he couldn't understand it for a while, with his many years of experience, he knew that it wasn't as simple as it seemed. It seems that your harvest is greater than expected. Now I'm relieved. Elder Song and Elder Gu put away the jade slip and looked at Lin Xian with a smile. Lin Xian smiled and scratched his head. This was only one of the pictures, and it wasn't one of the 4 strange pictures. It wasn't that he didn't want to give it to Lin Xian, but there was an inexplicable force that prevented Lin Xian from copying the 4 pictures. Elders, I want to go out and travel. I won't be going back with everyone tomorrow, Lin Xian said in a low voice. He wanted to cultivate and increase his strength to prepare for the battle with Lin Feng. But more importantly, he had a map in his hand. The place depicted on the map was relatively close to where he was, and he wanted to explore it. Alright, the Great Xia is too small. With your talent, even in the Tianan region in the future, you will be able to shine. Elder Song was very knowledgeable, and he didn't stop Lin Xian. This is the Deacon's token of the Inscription Union. If you have any difficulties, go to the Inscription Union, Elder Song said. Elder Gu also took out a palm-sized token. This is the Elder's token of the 10,000 Treasures Tower. From now on, you are an Elder of the 10,000 Treasures Tower. Lin Xian took the 2 tokens and put them away. Elders, I'll take my leave. After bidding farewell to the 2 elders, Lin Xian went to Vivian again. Lin Xian quietly handed over the jade slip in his hand, and said with a smile, "Don't show it to others." Vivian was stunned, then nodded and put away the jade slip. "Take care, we'll meet again if fate wills it." Lin Xian waved his hand and disappeared into the night. "Take care." Vivian nodded vigorously. She knew that with Lin Xian's talent, he would go far in the future, and she could only desperately chase after him. "Will we meet again?" Vivian clenched the jade slip. Lin Xian left. He didn't know that his 3 jade slips would become 3 inscription masters in the future, and their names would shake the Great Xia. Of course, this was a story for another day. The night was hazy, and the faint moonlight sprinkled on the ground. Chapter 244. Lin Xian guessed that the map should have recorded the location of the treasure, and the red dot could be the location where the treasure was buried. However, there were too many red dots and they needed to be verified one by one. The nearest one is 200 miles away from the Green Water Valley. Let's go there and take a look. Lin Xian put away the map. His body flashed, and he disappeared into the night. Not long after Lin Xian left, the 2 purple shadows quickly rushed into the valley. Whoosh whoosh. Ziying was as silent as a ghost. The 2 of them arrived at the Purple Extreme Devil Palace's territory, and quickly transmitted their voices. Reporting to 5th Elder, "That brat really left. As long as you leave, things will be easier." The 5th Elder sneered, his eyes filled with malice. Such a genius must not be allowed to grow. Otherwise, it will be difficult for the Xia Kingdom to control him in the future. The 2 of you follow Purple Heart. You must kill this brat. For such a small matter, there's no need for senior brother Purple Heart. The 2 of us can do it. The 5th Elder said in a low voice. With Zixian taking action, I can rest assured. Beside him, Ziyi revealed a cruel smile. Lin Xian, so what if you've taken first place? You'll still die. Only the one who had the last laugh was the winner. In the night, a hazy figure appeared. At this moment, a devilish young man appeared. His aura was even stronger than Violet Knight's. After the 5th Elder gave some instructions, the devilish young man left quietly with the 2 purple-clothed men. Did you leave a mark? The 3 of them walked out of the valley, And the devilish young man asked. He was the Wuxia that the fifth elder had mentioned. Don't worry, my lord. We've left some extreme purple qi in the surroundings. As long as there's even a little of it on his body, we'll be able to track him down. The purple extreme qi was a colorless and odorless gas. Only those from the purple extreme devil palace could detect it using a secret technique. Once this kind of gas came into contact with one's body, there would be nowhere to run within 1,000 miles. Let him run for a while. Once he's completely out of the Greenwater Valley's range, we'll make our move, Purple Heart said in a low voice. Whoosh! The three figures ran into the distance. Lin Xian hurried through the forest. A distance of 200 kilometers was not too far for him. Finally, he came to the first place marked in red. However, after probing for a while, he didn't find anything. He took out the map, confirmed his target again and quickly left. After a long while, three figures appeared in front of the cave. It was Wuxia and the other two. He seems to be looking for something, a figure asked. Follow them. We'll make our move at daybreak, Purple Heart said calmly. After a night of running, Lin Xian finally arrived at the second location marked in red at dawn. This was a mountain stream, and the surrounding spiritual energy was dense. Just as Lin Xian was about to investigate, he suddenly became vigilant. Lightning patterns appeared on his body and he flew out like a cannonball. Chi! Just as he was about to leave, two silhouettes appeared on the spot, stabbing their daggers into the void. There was a purplish-black color on the cold light. It was obvious that it had been smeared with poison. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. The two people who had attacked him had hidden themselves very well. His soul force had not been able to detect them. If it wasn't for the murderous aura that was emitted when he made his move, which alerted him, he would have been seriously injured by now. Your reflexes are not bad. A faint voice came from the void. Then a figure appeared. Purple clothes and purple eyes. It was the disguise of the Purple Extreme Demon Palace. You're really haunting me. Lin Xian's voice was cold. To be honest, your talent is not bad. We want to allow you to continue growing, Purple Heart said slowly. If you obediently give up, I can consider leaving your corpse intact. Otherwise, you can wait to fall into hell. Lin Xian stared at the youth who had spoken, and a disdainful smile appeared on his face. As expected of the demonic sect. However, if you want to keep me here, it's not something that can be done with just words. Lin Xian was not arrogant. Even the number one of the younger generation, Ziyi, had lost to him. There was almost no one in the new generation of the Purple Extreme Demon Palace who could be his opponent. Unless the older generation made a move, he would not be afraid. Who do you think you are? When our Lord Purple Heart was famous, he wasn't even born yet. The champion of this year's competition. Purple Heart's eyes flashed with a trace of ridicule. You two can play with him. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two silhouettes in purple intertwined and pounced out like ghosts. The daggers in their hands were suffused with a purplish-black light, emitting a heart-palpitating aura. The two of them cooperated very well. In an instant they were on Lin Xian's left and right. Their targets were Lin Xian's vital points. Not far away, Purple Heart sat on a huge rock. She had an evil smile on her face, but her eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Feeling the fierce attacks coming from both sides, Lin Xian's eyes narrowed, and the aura on his body erupted like a flash flood. The rocks on the ground were instantly shattered into powder, and then scattered in all directions with the surge of spiritual energy. Streaks of copper lightning patterns appeared on Lin Xian's body, and the surrounding air was filled with the power of wind and lightning. He punched out with both fists and like two dragons they pounced on the two silhouettes. Clank! The daggers in their hands pierced the lightning dragon's body, and terrifying cracks appeared. However, an even more ferocious power surged out of the lightning dragon's body, and entered their bodies through the daggers. Many golden arcs of lightning entered their bodies, and rumbled in their bodies. With two muffled groans, the two silhouettes retreated quickly, constantly changing their positions. What a frightening power of lightning! Shock appeared in their eyes. It was obvious that they had suffered under the attack of the golden arcs of lightning. However, since the two of them were able to follow Purple Heart, they were not ordinary people. After a few breaths, The two silhouettes controlled the power of lightning in their bodies and charged over again. Purple Ultimate Ecstasy Kill. The two silhouettes were blood brothers, and their minds were connected. They knew what the other was thinking with just a glance. Under their combined efforts, a psychedelic assassination array appeared in their hands. He used his ultimate move so quickly. Looks like this kid is more interesting than I thought. The smile on Purple Heart's face deepened. Lin Xian tapped his foot lightly, and his right leg swept out. The power of wind and lightning surged, and it had the power to wipe out 1,000 soldiers. Bam bam bam. The two silhouettes joined forces and took it head-on. The purple-black daggers pierced towards Lin Xian's right leg like raindrops. The copper lightning patterns emitted light, and like the most solid barrier, it protected Lin Xian's body. Swish! Formless soul power surged towards Lin Xian, and in an instant dozens of silhouettes appeared around him. Each one of them seemed to be real. The 10 silhouettes joined forces, and they stabbed towards Lin Xian from all directions. Illusion! Lin Xian's lips curled up. The soul power of a peak second-grade inscription master spread out, and fiercely hit the silhouettes. Puff puff! The illusions around him disappeared, and 2 silhouettes flew out in a sorry state. Boom! The 2 silhouettes landed on the ground, and a terrifying crater was formed. What a strong soul power! How is this possible? Fear finally appeared in their eyes. They could not believe that such a soul power would appear on a 17-year-old youth. Even Purple Heart, who was far away, put away her playful smile and her eyes flickered. Chapter 245. Purple Heart's words shocked the 2 martial artists in purple. They knew that this was a sign that Purple Heart was about to get angry. The 2 of them had joined forces and yet they couldn't take down a little brat. This was embarrassing. Strongest attack, Purple Illusion Heart-piercing stab. The 2 of them pressed their palms together as their bodies spun like a top. Wong! Wong! The air vibrated as the trees on both sides were uprooted and turned into powder in midair. Stab! A purple vortex flew out with 2 cold glints in its center. They were like the eyes of a ferocious beast and were filled with a dangerous aura. Lin Xian pursed his lips and the aura on his body rose again. Lightning surged and formed a strange rune. With a flip of his palm, the red flame sword appeared in his hand. The heavy sword had a thick back and a wide sword body. The heavy sword once again emitted a dark red glow. Like a brand, the runes on the sword body flickered and were filled with a mysterious aura. In an instant, the lightning on Lin Xian's body covered the sword and formed a sharp sawtooth. Holding the sword with both hands, Lin Xian swung it with all his might. Whoosh! Crack! This attack contained all of Lin Xian's strength and the ferocious power tore the air apart. Boom! The heavy sword hit the purple vortex and an earth-shattering sound exploded. An extremely unstable energy wave spread out in all directions. Everywhere it passed, everything turned into ashes. In the center, a light pillar with a diameter of 3 meters shot up into the sky and dispersed all the clouds in the sky. Purple Heart's body floated and landed on the ground like a feather. Purple light flashed in his eyes as he looked forward. In the next moment, he frowned and his face turned gloomy. When all the light disappeared, Lin Xian's voice could be heard. The lightning on his body had disappeared and the red flame sword in his hand was dripping with blood. A pungent stench filled the air and made people want to vomit. 5 meters in front of him, the ground caved in and a deep pit with a diameter of more than 10 meters appeared. There were countless cracks spreading around it. In the pit, there were 2 lumps of mud-like things piled up and there was still the power of the lightning on them. Purple Heart's face darkened. He had seen that attack clearly. Lin Xian directly used brute force to turn his 2 subordinates into meat paste, and that terrifying strength made his expression change slightly. Very good. Your strength has exceeded my expectations. This is even more fun. Purple Heart regained her composure in an instant, but the murderous aura on her body became even stronger. He slowly stretched out a hand and said in a contemptuous tone, I can deal with you with one hand. If there was anyone else here, their jaws would definitely drop. Who was Lin Xian? He was the champion of this year's Inscription Tower competition, and his strength had firmly suppressed the younger generation. And now there was actually someone who wanted to finish him off with one hand. This Zexine was definitely a lunatic. Lin Xian looked at the arrogant young man in front of him and didn't retaliate. On the contrary, he felt an indescribable sense of danger from Purple Heart. As a swordsman, he trusted his instincts. Therefore, he planned to give it his all. Putting away the red flame sword, Lin Xian took out the autumn scar sword. The sword light was like autumn water, shining in all directions. A sharp sword intent surged in his body, ready to burst out at any moment. On the opposite side, Purple Heart didn't rush over. Instead, an evil smile appeared on his face. Perhaps I don't even need to do anything, and you will die. Purple light flashed in his eyes as he suddenly activated the purple demon eyes. Purple flames jumped towards Lin Xian. Chop! The soul sword flew out, turning into a shapeless sword chi and slashing towards the purple fire. The two collided in the air, like swords clashing. Split! Purple Heart's eyes moved, and the purple fire in the air suddenly split into two. One ball restrained the soul, while the other ball quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. Everywhere it passed, the broken trees were all set ablaze, turning into ashes in an instant. Wang! Lin Xian suddenly pulled out his sword, and the wind and thunder sword light flashed out, hacking at the purple fire. The dragon sword intent surged, increasing the attacking power of this sword by several times. Before the sword chi arrived, 100-meter-long crack appeared on the ground. Swoosh! Swoosh! The purple fire was impacted, and its speed slowed down. Under the pressure of the sword chi, it kept changing its shape. Whoosh! Finally, the purple fire dissipated, and the soul sword flew back. Lin Xian and Purple Heart faced each other from a distance. Peak grade 2 soul power, not bad. Purple Heart snapped her fingers, and a ball of flame appeared on her fingertip. The purple flame jumped. Although it was small, it emitted a terrifying aura. Lin Xian did not dare to be careless. His long sword danced and he quickly stabbed out. Swoosh! Swoosh! Dazzling sword light surged and like a waterfall it slashed down. The air trembled and explosions occurred continuously, blowing up the surrounding mountains. Facing this fierce sword, Purple Heart smiled disdainfully. She flicked her fingers and the purple flame rushed out quickly. Like jumping fairies, the small purple flame collided with the sword chi, and constantly mixed. Like ice meeting fire, a sizzling sound could be heard. On the materialized sword chi, a wormhole-like crack appeared, and it quickly became bigger. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. The terror of the flame was beyond his imagination. Wind Emperor's sword. Lin Xian swung his sword again, and the fierce wind disappeared. It was as if there was only one sword left in the world. Ka! Ka! Under the burning of the purple flame, the original sword chi became broken, and it finally shattered. However, immediately after, an even more fierce sword chi attacked. Clang! Thunder-like sound reverberated through the air. The purple flame was knocked away, and its color dimmed. Seeing this, Lin Xian's body shook and like lightning he stabbed towards Purple Heart. Seeing that her purple flame was blocked again, Purple Heart's face darkened. She opened her right hand, and traces of purple flame came out of her palm, forming a flaming palm. Whoosh! She pushed out her palm, and half the sky turned into a sea of fire. Sword light flashed, and the endless flames were split into two. Lin Xian opened a path in the raging flames. Whoosh! His body shook and he disappeared again. The long sword in his hand pierced towards Purple Heart's forehead with a fierce aura. Scram! Purple Heart's 5 fingers formed a claw, and the flames on it jumped. She mercilessly clawed forward. Ding! 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 In an instant Lin Xian stabbed more than 100 times, and they clashed with the flaming palm, creating a series of explosions. Great Dragon Sword intent. Lin Xian's eyes focused, and his attacks became fierce again. Many of the flames on Purple Heart's palm were extinguished by the sword intent, and her pale palm was exposed. Ka! Purple Heart exerted her strength, and grabbed the autumn scar sword. Immediately, her face became ferocious. Brat, am not in the mood to play with you anymore. Die! A powerful aura gushed out from her body, covering the sky and the earth. It was as if 10,000 mountains were going to crush everything. The surrounding rocks and trees were crushed into powder by this formless aura, and even the ground caved in by half a foot. Lin Xian's bones cracked under the pressure. He tried his best to pull back his sword, but found that it was useless. Chapter 246. Half-step harmonious spirit. Hearing these words, Lin Xian's pupils shrunk. His expression was somewhat ugly. Half-step harmonious spirit realm, this kind of situation was beyond his expectations. Anything related to the harmonious spirit realm was not something a Sea of Souls realm warrior could contend against. Seeing the change in Lin Xian's expression, Zexine couldn't help but laugh. He liked to enjoy the frightened expressions of his opponents. It was a kind of pleasure for him. Die in fear. Zexine laughed loudly. His left hand suddenly stretched out, and a fierce spirit power instantly bombarded Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian decisively abandoned the Autumn Scar Sword and retreated like lightning. At the same time, he activated the ancient armor and the copper thunder mark with all his might. Layers of lightning marks flickered and quickly formed on the surface of his body. At the same time, a thick and heavy armor appeared on top of it. However, the strength of a half-step harmonious spirit realm warrior was much stronger than he had imagined. Almost in the blink of an eye, that fierce power had already crashed into his body. Puff! As if a huge mountain had crashed into his body, Lin Xian felt that all the bones in his body were about to shatter. Block it for me. His expression was ferocious. He crazily activated all his defenses, but his body was still sent flying like a cannonball. Crack! Crack! On his chest, the copper thunder mark dimmed, as if it had been extinguished. Not only that, but a glaring crack had also appeared on the armor he was wearing. Boom! His body crashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. Lin Xian endured the pain and drank a cup of spirit wine at the first moment. If it wasn't for the copper thunder mark in the ancient armor, this attack would have taken his life. Moreover, his loss was also huge. Not only was the copper thunder mark damaged, the armor on it was also destroyed. With the help of the spirit wine, Lin Xian quickly recovered. He didn't die? Zexine was very surprised. His attack just now was enough to kill any Sea of Souls realm warrior 1,000 times over. A purple light flashed as Zexine looked at Lin Xian. Humph, so you have a spirit armor to protect your body. No wonder you could survive. But why do you have so much this time? As soon as she finished speaking, Zexine quickly rushed over. Purple flames appeared on her palm. Lin Xian felt goosebumps all over his body. This feeling was like being stared at by a peerless beast that could swallow him up at any time. Don't take it head-on. The difference is too great. Wine Lord reminded. Lin Xian nodded. Zexine was much stronger than him. Even Meng Yan, Lin Feng and the others couldn't stop her. This was not surprising. Although Purple Heart looked young, she was actually in her 40s. She had been cultivating for far longer than Lin Xian. Qing Nu, I'm counting on you. His storage ring flashed and a green figure appeared. Lin Xian's eyes changed, forming inscriptions that entered the body of the green figure. It's useless. In front of me, Sea of Soul realm martial artists are no different from ants. Purple Heart suddenly appeared, and her purple flame palm slammed down. Boom! The flames danced and even the air was burned, turning into a sea of fire that spread out in all directions. However, a green figure stood in front of Lin Xian and blocked the palm. Die! Zizin's eyes were cold. She planned to kill both of them together. The moment she touched the body of the green-haired man, a cold and dark chi soared into the sky, as if it wanted to devour everything. The rolling green smoke formed a fist that was 10 meters in size and blasted towards Purple Heart. The mountain rocks were shattered, and the trees within a 100-meter radius were snapped. Like a huge mountain, the green fist bounced off the flame palm and rushed towards Zexine with an even sharper aura. Humph! Zexine snorted coldly. Her body was like a flame that scattered in all directions and then reformed behind her. While the two were fighting, Lin Xian's body swayed, and he retrieved his Autumn Scar Sword. So what if you're a half-step harmonious spirit expert? I've even slapped the face of a true harmonious spirit expert, let alone you. Lin Xian was furious. Since the other party wanted to kill him, he wouldn't show any mercy. Qing Nu, kill him! Lin Xian shouted coldly. This Qing Nu was the mysterious green-haired man who once followed Lin Xian. But now that Lin Xian had used the slave seal on her, she could only listen to him. Swoosh! 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 The green-haired man's hair flew towards Zexine like thousands of sharp arrows. He still has a helper. Xian felt Qingnu's qi, and his heart became heavy. He put away his playful mood, and his eyes became unusually sharp. Unless he's a true harmonious spirit expert, you can just wait for your death. Obviously, Xian didn't plan to let Lin Xian go. Purple flame transformation. With a flip of her palm, the purple flame turned into a 100-meter-long firebird that covered the sky and rushed forward. Puff! Puff! Great dragon sword and tint. Outer sky flying star. Lin Xian became one with his sword, and turned into a shooting star that pierced towards Xian. The sword light flashed, and the autumn scar sword pierced through Xian's chest, sending him flying. Wind Emperor's sword. Lin Xian attacked again. With a thrust of his sword, the wind and clouds changed. The glaring sword light slashed onto Xian's body, sending him flying. The purple fire bird in the sky disappeared, and Xian's body was also sent flying 100 meters away. Lin Xian let out a sigh of relief, but then he frowned. Under his soul perception, Xian's qi didn't weaken. Instead, it was getting stronger. Did I not hurt him? Lin Xian's heart was in turmoil. Kid, I have to admit that I have underestimated you. But with just these you can't hurt me. Xian's voice was cold. He took a step forward and arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. He tore off his tattered clothes, revealing the dark black armor on his body. I have a high-rank profound armor. You can't break through my defense. A mocking expression appeared on Xian's face. With this armor, even if he was facing Qingnu, he wouldn't be afraid. I will carve 36,000 cuts from your body, and then sprinkle them with bloodthirsty ants to eat your flesh and blood. I will let your soul reincarnate in hell. Xian's voice was cold like a demon's. Lin Xian took a deep breath. We don't know who will die yet. Qingnu go. Shoo! The green figure pounced forward again and engaged in a fierce battle with Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian continued to merge the Sword of Soul and the Great Dragon Sword intent. Finally, after 15 times he succeeded. Roar! A deep dragon roar sounded, and the formless Sword of Soul pierced towards Xian. With the support of the Sword intent, the power of the Sword of Soul had at least doubled. This was also why Lin Xian had chosen to use the Sword of Soul instead of the Flame of Soul. Shoo! The Sword of Soul was silent, and it quickly attacked Xian. Such a petty trick. Xian sneered. His eyes turned and the flame of soul gushed out. Shoo! Puff! The two collided, and the flame of soul only resisted for a breath's time before it was extinguished. What? Xian frowned. He didn't expect Lin Xian's soul attack to be so strong. Ah! Chapter 247. The soul sword that had merged with the sword had become extremely powerful. This move was very close to the attack of a third-tier inscription master. Purple Heart was heavily injured and dizzy. All the martial arts he had used had disappeared. Qingnu took this opportunity to attack fiercely. Her green fingertips scratched Purple Heart's body, leaving many horrifying wounds. Lin Xian met the sword head-on, thrusting his sword forward. Great Dragon Sword will. Green Dragon goes to the sea. The sword light was like a dragon, rolling in the clouds and roaring ferociously. This time it attacked Purple Heart's forehead, intending to end the battle in one go. Puff! Blood splattered from Purple Heart's forehead. The Autumn Scar Sword was less than 3 feet away from Purple Heart's head. At this moment, Purple Heart suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were purple. His head was in a mess. The long sword had scratched his head, leaving a bloody mark. Kid, I want you dead. Purple Heart was furious. The blood on his forehead had evaporated. Purple Extreme Secret Art, Blood Evil Descent. Boom! His body suddenly grew 3 feet tall like a giant. It was the Purple Extreme Hall's martial arts. Qingnu smiled evilly and pointed out. Puff! Purple Heart's swollen body was like a deflated balloon. It immediately softened. Impossible! How did you break it? Fear appeared on Purple Heart's face. This was the Purple Extreme Demon Palace's secret art. It was impossible to break it. However, the green-haired man had broken it with a single finger. This had completely overturned his understanding. He did not know that the green-haired man was the clone of the evil dragon sex envoy, and that the Purple Extreme Demon Palace was only one of its halls. In front of the green-haired man, the two had different statuses. Master, release my seal. I have a way to kill him. The green-haired man looked back at Lin Xian with excitement in his eyes. Lin Xian frowned as a bad premonition arose in his heart. Humph! He snorted and used the slave seal. The green-haired man showed a pained expression. At the same time, Lin Xian's body flashed and appeared in front of Purple Heart. Kid! You dare to touch me? Purple Heart was furious. Lin Xian's gaze was cold. Cold light flickered on his fingertips. Half of the mysterious ice chi flowed out and circled around Zizhen's body. An abnormally cold aura overflowed and froze everything in the surroundings. How is this possible? Purple Heart's face was filled with terror. He could feel the threat of death looming over him. Crack! His head was frozen, and the fear on his face was frozen forever. With a flash of sword light, a head flew up. Purple Heart's face was still filled with fear. Even in death, he still could not believe that Lin Xian could kill him so easily. The green-haired man's expression changed drastically when he sensed the icy chi. Lin Xian's cold gaze enveloped Qingnu as he warned, "Don't play any tricks or I'll kill you." The green-haired man didn't dare to act rashly and could only obey obediently. Lin Xian formed a seal with his palm and used the slave seal to put the blue-haired man away. Then he showed a pained expression. That was his last trace of mysterious ice chi. Now that he had used half of it, there was still half of it left. However, he didn't regret it. Firstly, he killed Purple Heart, and secondly, he used this opportunity to intimidate Qingnu, putting away his long sword. Lin Xian took off Purple Heart's upper-grade Mystic class armor and put it on. Then he took off Purple Heart's storage ring. With a flick of his finger, a golden electric arc flew out and shattered Purple Heart's corpse. After jumping down the mountain stream, Lin Xian found a safe place and heaved a sigh of relief. In the battle just now, he had taken a palm strike from Purple Heart and suffered a serious internal injury. After drinking a cup of spirit wine, Lin Xian began to circulate the longevity art. 2 hours later, he opened his eyes. With a flip of his hand, Purple Heart's storage ring appeared. He hoped to receive some compensation. Lin Xian had a trace of anticipation in his heart. 30,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Lin Xian's pupils contracted. This guy is really rich. Middle-grade spirit stones were far more precious than low-grade spirit stones. 30,000 mid-grade spirit stones was something that even some 2-star sect elders might not necessarily have. In addition to the spirit stones, Lin Xian also found the complete version of the purple demon eyes, which was many times more powerful than the purple spirit eyes. Even though Lin Xian had the inscriptions from the stone eyeball, the purple demon eyes was still of great value to him. As for the other low-grade mystic class artifacts, Lin Xian didn't really care about them. After putting these things away, Lin Xian stood up and looked around. He still didn't find anything, so he decisively left. In the following days, Lin Xian searched one by one according to the red marks on the map while comprehending the 4 inscriptions in his mind. These 4 inscriptions recorded the soul cultivation method, which allowed Lin Xian's soul cultivation to be faster than before. At the same time, he also practiced a sword art that Wine Lord gave him. The 9 green cloud swords had a total of 9 moves. When used together with the dragon sword intent, it was extremely powerful. After more than a month of practice, Lin Xian could perform the first 3 moves. In the past month, he had found almost half of the red marks on the map. The next one was 3,000 miles away. Lin Xian's body swayed and he moved out like a dragon. This set of footwork was called the Dragon Rebel Steps, which contained the 7 Rebel Dragon Steps. It was also given to him by Wine Lord. With the Dragon Rebel Steps, Lin Xian's speed was 3 times faster than before. Lin Xian's body swayed, and he disappeared from the forest. While Lin Xian was searching for the marks on the map, the 3-star sects of the Xia country, Shadow country, and other neighboring countries were also busy. Xia country snow-seeking sect. 1 blade ice and snow. The floating island that only opens once every few hundred years is finally open again. This time we have been promoted to a 3-star sect. The 2 of you can enter, an elder said with a smile. Sword Pool Mansion Lin family. Feng'er, the floating island this time is a great opportunity. You must not miss it. The Earthfire sect, Blue Moon sect, and other 3-star sects were all preparing. Shadow country, Purple Demon Palace. The two elders' faces darkened. Purple Heart has been out for a month. Why hasn't she returned yet? The floating island is about to open. Could there be an accident? Impossible. What accident can there be when dealing with a second-grade inscriber? Let's wait for another 3 days. If she still doesn't come back, we'll change it to someone else. This is a competition between all the forces in the Tiannan region. We can't be careless. Lin Xian didn't know about this. He was looking for his next destination. 5 days later, he arrived at a mountain peak. Still nothing. Lin Xian sighed. He didn't want to waste any more time. Rest for a while. Let's go somewhere else to train. Lin Xian took out the ice platform and began cultivating. Not long after, the sky suddenly darkened, as if a huge palm had covered the sky. At the same time, a terrifying pressure came from the sky. Whoosh! Lin Xian suddenly opened his eyes and put away the ice platform. He looked at the sky cautiously. Wooji wooji. The little white monkey jumped onto his shoulder and looked curiously at the sky with its black gem-like eyes. Ever since it ate the dragon fruit, it had fallen into a deep sleep and had only woken up a few days ago. This pressure should come from a strange independent space, said Lord Alcohol with a voice transmission. Lin Xian touched his chin. What kind of space is so scary? Buzz buzz. Suddenly thousands of rays of light shot down from the dark sky and flew in all directions. Chapter 248. Lin Xian was enveloped by the rays of sunlight descending from the sky, and he felt warm all over. What's going on? Lin Xian was puzzled. Let's see what you have on you. Wine Lord transmitted his voice. Lin Xian scanned with his soul spirit and suddenly exclaimed. In the corner of his storage ring, there was a palm-sized stone token that was emitting a gentle light. Beside it there was a stone key. Lin Xian had obtained these two items when he obtained the Wind Emperor's sword. He didn't expect them to be of use at this moment. He took out the stone token and placed it in his palm. Wang! The void trembled as the light resonated with the stone token and gradually became blurry. Lin Xian didn't hesitate as he grabbed the token and disappeared with the light. If he guessed correctly, the place he was going to was related to the Wind Emperor. He wouldn't miss out on something that could increase his strength. At the same time, there were also disciples from the 3-star and above sects that were taken away by the light. After an unknown period of time, Lin Xian woke up again. Birds chirped, flowers bloomed and waterfalls flowed. The surroundings were like a fairyland. The dense trees were hundreds of meters tall, and their branches were strong like dragons. Lin Xian extended his soul spirit and didn't sense any danger. He then let out a sigh of relief. The teleportation this time made him feel extremely tired and he just wanted to have a good sleep. Hiding in the bushes, Lin Xian lowered his aura to the lowest and entered a state of rest. He slowly woke up a day later. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian's essence, energy and spirit reached the peak. Such dense spiritual energy. He sighed. The spiritual energy here was far superior to the outside world. Even a third-grade sect couldn't compare to it. Cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating for a few days outside. Lin Xian's eyes flashed and were incomparably deep. He obtained the cultivation method of the purple demon eyes from Zizin's storage ring, and upgraded his purple spirit eyes to the purple demon eyes. At the same time, he used the method that Wine Lord taught him to hide the purple light. Now when he used his eye technique, only faint runes flashed. There was no longer any purple light. Practicing the secret arts of other sects was a taboo. Moreover, the Purple Extreme Devil Palace was a 3-star sect. Lin Xian didn't want to be hunted down by them every day. The Purple Demon Eyes had a total of 6 stages. Violet Knight had only cultivated to the 3rd stage, while Violet Heart had cultivated to the 4th. The difference was that Zi needed to borrow the power of his bloodline to use the Flame of the Soul, while Xian could easily use it. With the foundation of the Purple Spirit Eyes and his powerful soul force, Lin Xian quickly reached the 4th stage. Now he could also use the Soul Flame. He turned his gaze and looked around. In the end he discovered that this space was so big that he couldn't see the end of it. That day, many multicolored lights descended from the sky. It seems like I wasn't the only one who entered this place. Could it be that it was the same as the trial by blood and fire with many sects entering? In fact, Lin Xian's guess was not far from the truth. There were indeed many sects that had entered, but the standard this time was clearly much higher than in the cloud state. To be able to enter this place, one had to be at least a 3-star sect standard. Let's check it out first. Lin Xian decided to check out the situation first. Using the dragon inverse steps, Lin Xian's speed was extremely fast. Half a day later, Lin Xian came to a mountain peak and fell into deep thought. Hee kid, you finally realized. Wine Lord chuckled. You already knew? Lin Xian was stunned. He then touched his chin helplessly. He took out the old map marked with a red mark and looked at it carefully. If one looked carefully, they would realize that some of the places Lin Xian had passed by were shockingly similar to what was drawn on the map. Could it be that this map was originally drawn here? Lin Xian had a bold idea. You guessed right. This should be a strategy that was spread out. Wine Lord snorted. Then what are we waiting for? The treasures buried in this treasure ground must be extraordinary. Lin Xian's heart was burning with excitement. He took out the map and found his location. Then he found the area closest to him that was marked with a red dot. Wuji. The little white monkey also pointed in that direction and cheered. Let's go. Lin Xian rubbed the little monkey's head and turned into a ray of light. The closest marked area was a pool surrounded by mountains. Lin Xian came to a low mountain peak. His eyes flashed as he checked out the situation. In front of him was a jade-green lake that sparkled like a flawless emerald. There was a saber-toothed tiger that was 7 to 8 meters long. It had a pair of wings on its back and was covered with metal-like feathers. The demonic beast's demonic aura was exuberant and surrounded its body like dancing flames. At this moment it was drinking water with its head lowered, causing ripples on the lake's surface. Suddenly, the demonic tiger seemed to have noticed something. It flapped its wings and was about to escape. Whoosh! The surface of the lake suddenly exploded, and a blue light flashed. Accompanied by a deep roar, a gigantic creature jumped out of the water. The blue light was like lightning. It was more than 10 meters long and was extremely fast. In an instant it pierced through the winged demonic tiger. Then it suddenly pulled it back and swallowed it. Croak! After the gigantic demonic beast finished eating, it was abnormally excited and walked out of the lake. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed. He used the qi concealing art to conceal his aura, and then carefully hid behind the mountain peak. What a big frog! He was surprised. Beside the lake in front of him, a blue frog that was like a small mountain stood there. Its demonic aura surged into the sky and scattered the clouds in the sky. This is not a frog. This is a blue-eyed blue toad that contains a trace of the bloodline of an ancient beast. It's very fierce, Wine Lord said telepathically. Its ancestor is the 9-eyed heavenly toad, one of the 10 ancient beasts. 10 ancient beasts? 9-eyed heavenly toad? Lin Xian had never heard of it before. He had only heard of divine beasts like the azure dragon and the true phoenix. However, Lin Xian did not dare to be careless. He felt an aura that surpassed the spirit sea realm. This aura seemed to be even stronger than Xian. If Lin Xian encountered it a few days ago, he would have to run away. But now his strength had increased by a lot. Even if he could not defeat it, he could still protect himself. It's actually the blue-eyed blue toad. Its skin is of the highest quality. Not only is its defense strong, but it also contains poison. That kind of poison can even make a harmonious spirit expert retreat. A few loud laughs could be heard, causing the lake water to tremble and create countless waves. Whoosh! 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 5 figures landed in front of him and stared at the blue-eyed blue toad with fiery eyes. These 5 people were very young. They were only in their 20s, but the aura on their bodies was very strong. It was not inferior to Ziyi Yufei and the others. Lin Xian frowned slightly and looked at the figures in the distance with surprise. What powerful strength! Who are these people? I'm afraid they are the disciples of the big sects who are participating in the trial. They are at least at the level of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace, Wine Lord said in a deep voice. Lin Xian was alert. The Purple Extreme Devil Palace was a 3-star sect. It was one of the top forces in Xia Country and Shadow Country. Chapter 249. These people are almost on par with Ziyi Yufei and the others. Lin Xian sensed and praised inwardly. At this moment the people in the distance made their move. Several terrifying attacks attacked the blue-eyed blue toad, and the power made Lin Xian's eyelids twitch. These people were all at the peak of the 7th layer of the spiritual ocean tier and used spirit tier martial arts, which were extremely powerful. The blue-eyed blue toad was furious and cried out twice, its tongue lashing out like a whip. Hong! Chi! Chi! A neat cut was cut into the ground. The 5 people all dodged quickly and attacked again. For a moment the nearby rocks shattered and the lake surged. Little Xianzi, go to the bottom of the lake. There might be blue-eyed blue toad eggs, Winelord transmitted. Lin Xian was overjoyed when he heard this, and he left quietly. Circling to a distance, Lin Xian dove into the water like a fish and quickly swam downwards. At the same time the leader of the 5 said quickly, Junior Sister Su, go to the bottom of the lake and see if there are blue-eyed blue toad eggs. If there are, we must take them back. Everyone else, attack with all your strength. We must finish them off before Black Wind sect. Yes. The 4 martial artists attacked with all their strength, while Junior Sister Su transformed into a spirit armor to cover her whole body and dove into the lake. Lin Xian was swimming underwater. The width of the lake was far beyond his imagination, and the pressure underwater was much stronger than the outside. Suddenly his brows twitched and he looked up. Over there a beautiful figure was descending at a rapid speed. It's her. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He recognized that the girl was one of the people attacking the blue-eyed blue toad. Looks like she has the same idea as me. Lin Xian's face darkened and he sped up. Su Xiao also saw someone below and was surprised. Could it be Black Wind sect's people? Thinking of this, she couldn't help but speed up. The spirit armor on her body gradually changed and transformed into a fishtail-shaped light under her feet. Who? With a swing of her fishtail, Su Xiao's speed doubled. So fast. Lin Xian was shocked. He could sense that the woman was rapidly approaching. He turned around and unleashed his extreme purple pupil, and a look of realization appeared on his face when he saw the fishtail-shaped light. The spirit energy in Lin Xian's body circulated, and the armor on his body continuously changed, finally transforming into the shape of a flood dragon. With a shake of his dragon tail, his body flew out like a sharp sword. Haha, so fast. Lin Xian's face lit up. He had the great dragon sword seal, so this change was nothing to him. However, when this change fell into Su Xiao's eyes, it caused a great commotion. She cultivated a type of martial skill that allowed her to transform into a fishtail, and the person below had obviously learned it on the spot, which made her extremely surprised. Gritting his teeth, Su Xiao circulated his spirit energy with all his might, increasing his speed once more. Whoosh! Whoosh! The flow of water around them became rapid, as if something was coming. Lin Xian's soul force was outstanding. As he looked over, his expression changed. A school of strangely shaped fish was rapidly swimming toward them. There were over 100 of them. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the school of strange fish had already arrived in front of Lin Xian. Their heads were like lizards, and their bodies were slender with fine fish scales. Their sharp teeth were comparable to treasured weapons, shining with a cold light. Crack! Lin Xian's spirit armor had a finger-sized hole in it, and it was full of injuries. Damn it! Lin Xian's expression changed drastically, and he immediately unleashed the copper thunder pattern. Rings of mysterious lightning patterns covered his body, and violent lightning surged, overflowing in the water. Crackle! Like an angry lightning dragon, it killed all the fish within 20 meters. However, even more strange fish were biting toward him. Go! Lin Xian did not dare to delay, and with a stroke of his finger, he unleashed the wind-splitting stance. The water in front of him seemed to have been cut open, and a vacuum appeared. Lin Xian seized the opportunity, and his body rushed out like a flood dragon. There's a light in front. Lin Xian's body moved, and he swam toward the light. The light was a bubble with a diameter of about 10 meters. There were some basin-sized eggs and millstone-sized tadpoles swimming inside. It's the blue-eyed blue toad's eggs. Lin Xian was delighted, and at the same time, he realized that the strange fish behind him were wandering in the distance, not daring to get close to the bubbles. Yes, these bubbles contain a thick, baleful aura. Normal demonic beasts would not dare to get close. Just as Lin Xian was about to collect the blue-eyed blue toad's eggs, a light flashed behind him, and a figure rushed out quickly. As expected of a disciple of a large sect. You got out of danger so quickly. Lin Xian praised. The person behind him was Su Xiao. She held a red thin sword, and she killed a bloody path. Demonic beast eggs. Su Xiao's eyes were filled with surprise, and then she looked at Lin Xian. I'm from Star Peak Pavilion. If you know what's good for you, leave quickly. These things are not something you can have. She scolded, and at the same time she quickly approached the bubbles below. Lin Xian ignored her, and his eyes swept over the demonic beast eggs below. Suddenly his brows twitched. There was an egg in one of the bubbles. There were a few strands of golden light on it, and it faintly emitted an unusual aura. There's a phenomenon of atavism. Wine Lord was also surprised. Little Xian, this is a good thing. When it grows up, it will be comparable to a spirit-detecting realm expert. Spirit-detecting realm. That's even stronger than a harmonious spirit realm expert. Lin Xian's eyes were burning with passion, and he quickly rushed toward the golden egg. You're courting death. Su Xiao shouted from the side. Her target was also the golden egg. Without hesitation, the red thin sword pierced out, and several sword beams tore through the water, rushing toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian stepped on the ground, and his body twisted strangely, dodging all the sword beams. At the same time, runes flashed in his eyes. Sword Spirit World. When she came into contact with Lin Xian's right eye, Su Xiao's body trembled, as if her soul was being sucked away. Her surroundings changed drastically, and several pitch-black iron chains bound her tighter and tighter, making it difficult for her to breathe. You're from the Purple Extreme Devil Palace. Su Xiao screamed, struggling madly. It was rumored that the disciples of the Purple Extreme Devil Palace were ruthless, and they knew an eye technique called the Purple Extreme Devil Eyes. The young man in front of her was clearly using an eye technique. The Purple Extreme Devil Palace? Lin Xian was slightly surprised. Did they come in as well? Although he was surprised, he didn't slow down. He released the snow-white little monkey, and a white light rushed toward the golden egg. It's useless, you don't have a demonic beast pouch, you can't raise it. Su Xiao screamed from afar. Whoosh! Lin Xian's body flashed, and he arrived in front of Su Xiao. What do you want? Su Xiao's eyes showed a trace of panic. Since you know so much, you must have a demonic beast pouch on you. Lin Xian stretched out his hand, and grabbed Su Xiao's waist. Shameless! I won't give it to you. Su Xiao bit the tip of her tongue, and temporarily regained her consciousness. The red rapier drew a strange arc in the air, aiming for Lin Xuanxiang's eyes, chest and throat. Su Xiao on the other hand kept retreating. Purple Extreme Devil Eyes, 4th level. Chapter 250. Lin Xian used an extremely powerful illusion to make Su Xiao fall into a trance. With a flash of his hand, he took the demonic beast pouch from Su Xiao's waist. Woo! A white light flew over from afar. The snow-white monkey was holding a demonic beast egg that was the size of a wash basin. It was crying out happily. At this moment, a croaking sound came from the bubble below. Not good. Lin Xian's expression changed. He put the golden demonic beast egg into the demonic beast pouch and quickly left with the snow-white monkey. The sound from below was getting louder and louder. It woke Su Xiao, who was trapped in the illusion. Damn it! Su Xiao's delicate face was filled with anger. As an elite disciple of the Star Peak sect, she had never been taken advantage of. But now, in the hands of Lin Xian, not only did she lose the demonic beast pouch, she even lost the precious demonic beast egg in front of her. Ah! Bastard! Su Xiao shouted angrily. She quickly swam up. I must tell senior brother to capture this abominable fellow. Beside the lake, the other 4 disciples of the Star Peak sect were fighting with the blue-eyed blue toad. Suddenly, a croaking sound came from the bottom of the lake. Croak. This sound made the blue-eyed blue toad extremely irritable. It jumped into the water. Junior sister Su must have succeeded. Quickly, stop it. The 4 of them worked together. Sword chi intertwined in the air, forming a 100-meter-long sword net. Each sword chi was as thick as a tree. Buzz! The sword net emitted a dazzling light. It stopped the blue-eyed blue toad and quickly pressed down. Whoosh! Whoosh! The blue-eyed blue toad cried out angrily. Its body kept colliding with the huge sword net. The ground cracked and huge waves that were hundreds of meters high rushed towards the crowd. At the same time, the blue light on its body flickered. It opened its mouth and spat out a ball of blue mist. Retreat! It's poisonous! The disciples of the Star Peak Pavilion scattered as fast as lightning. Chi! The blue mist came into contact with the sword net above, and immediately burned a hole that was more than 10 meters wide. Croak! The blue-eyed blue toad's body bounced. It moved like a mountain, bringing with it countless gusts of wind. Crack! The sword net was torn open and finally broke. The blue-eyed blue toad also escaped into the lake. What a terrifying poisonous fog! This blue-eyed blue toad was much stronger than we had imagined. Forget it. There are many treasures on Floating Island. There's no need for us to waste time here. Junior sister Sue should be coming out soon. Whoosh! As he spoke, a sword light broke through the surface of the lake and landed on the ground. Junior apprentice sister Sue. The four of them were overjoyed and hurried over. How is it? Did you get it? We dug out 2 demonic beast eggs, but a bastard appeared and snatched away one of the demonic beast eggs with a golden thread. Su Xiao said through gritted teeth. What? Someone dares to go against our Star Peak Pavilion? Could it be the Black Wind sect? Golden thread demonic egg? Could it be an atavistic phenomenon? Everyone was shocked. Senior brothers, your guess is correct. It is indeed a phenomenon of atavism. But he's not from the Black Wind sect. That brat is proficient in eye techniques. He should be from the Purple Extreme Devil Palace. Su Xiao's face was filled with lingering fear when he thought about how he had fallen into an illusion. Purple Extreme Devil Palace. Their faces darkened. Although their eye techniques are powerful, our Star Peak Pavilion is not to be trifled with. Junior apprentice sister, draw that brat's face. Well, gather the others. We must snatch the demonic beast eggs back. He escaped before me, but he shouldn't have gone far. Let's chase after him. Su Xiao seemed to have thought of something. Right, he also snatched my demonic beast pouch. There should be my aura on it. Damn it. I can't sense it. Don't worry. The Purple Extreme Devil Palace is proficient in soul power. They should have used some method to hide it. But the demonic beast pouch was bestowed by the sect's elders. The aura on it is impossible for a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist to erase. As long as we ask the Mu clan for help, we can definitely find that person. The 5 of them made a decision and quickly left the place. After a long time, the surface of the lake rippled slightly. A figure quickly jumped onto the shore. Star Peak Pavilion? Demonic beast pouch's aura? No wonder I felt a vague fluctuation. This figure was Lin Xian. After obtaining the demonic beast eggs, he didn't escape immediately. Instead, he hid in the water. Seems like this Mu clan is also proficient in soul power. I must be careful. Taking out the demonic beast pouch, Lin Xian's fingers moved. Lines of mysterious inscriptions appeared, forming a pattern in the air. Seal! He growled. The inscriptions in the air suddenly shone brightly. Then they poured into the demonic beast pouch and sealed the aura on it. It should be fine now, right? Lin Xian put away the demonic beast pouch and quickly left the place. Walking in the forest, Lin Xian took out the map again. Seems like the things recorded here are indeed good. But, without great strength, there is no way to profit from them. Lin Xian put away the map and headed for the next marked location. The floating island was very vast. No one knew where it ended. Moreover, it was very dangerous. Not only were there competition between the disciples of other sects, there were also many powerful demonic beasts. If one didn't have strength, they would only become food for others. For the next 2 days, Lin Xian shuttled through the forest. The tall trees were at least 100 meters tall. The leaves were lush and covered the sky. There were many demonic beasts that were hibernating. Some were abnormally strong. They were far from what a Sea of Soul Realm martial artist could handle. During this time, he saw a 10-meter-tall white jade demonic elephant and a 20-meter-long 2-headed demonic wolf fighting. That scene was deeply imprinted in his heart and could not be erased. In the end, the two destroyed everything within a 1,000-meter radius and perished together. After waiting for a long time, Lin Xian was sure that they were really dead. Only then did he jump down from the 10-meter-high branch. His body was like a swimming dragon, extremely agile. Wuji. The little white monkey jumped down from his shoulder and quickly went to the two huge demonic beasts. Its furry little paw dug out two demonic crystals the size of a fist. They were like exquisite gems, shining with a demonic light. What a thick demonic chi! Lin Xian felt the demonic chi on them. His face changed slightly. Wuji. The little white monkey waved its paw and swallowed the two demonic crystals. Eating so much at once? Aren't you afraid of bursting? Lin Xian scolded. Wuji. The little white monkey had a mocking look on its face. Kept gesturing. Finally, it opened its mouth and the two demonic crystals appeared in its hands. This little guy is very strange. You don't have to be so surprised. Wine Lord laughed. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. He realized that the little white monkey seemed to have a strange space that could store things. Without paying any more attention to the little white monkey, Lin Xian started to dissect the materials on the two demonic beasts. The tusks of the white jade demonic elephant were as smooth as jade and extremely hard. Even his autumn scar sword could not do any damage to them. They were definitely the best materials for refining weapons. The teeth and claws of the two-headed demonic wolf were also rare items. They were also the best materials for refining weapons. In the end, Lin Xian peeled off the whole demonic wolf's skin. After that he set off again. Chapter 251. The cry rang out in the forest, startling countless birds. Sensing the direction of the sound, Lin Xian couldn't help but speed up. If he remembered correctly, that place was the destination marked on the map. Using the dragon rebel step, Lin Xian turned into a ray of light and sped through the forest. The ground in front of him suddenly shook, and roars could be heard from time to time. There was also a strong demonic aura. Lin Xian concealed his aura and carefully advanced. He hid behind a tree trunk and frowned. A pungent smell of blood came from the ground, making one want to vomit. There were piles of demonic beast corpses on the ground, and the blood flowed like a river. At this time, there were three powerful demonic beasts that were looking at each other with hostility, growling. Near them there was a cave half a meter tall, and there was a strange fragrance coming from it. Wuji. The fragrance made the little white monkey cry out. It shook its body and was about to rush out. Fortunately, Lin Xian had been watching it. When it didn't move, he quickly held it down. However, the little white monkey's cry attracted the attention of the three powerful demonic beasts. Whoosh! A wind blade that was more than 10 meters long struck the tree trunk with a loud boom. With a stomp of his foot, Lin Xian's body abruptly shot forward before landing lightly on the ground. Roar! The three demonic beasts all looked at Lin Xian and roared with a strong sense of warning. Lin Xian secretly circulated his spiritual energy, and at the same time, he used his extreme purple pupil to look into the cave. There were many rocks inside, and among the rocks, there was a fist-sized green liquid that emitted a strange fragrance. It's the earth essence liquid. No wonder it attracted so many demonic beasts. Wine Lord suddenly understood. Earth essence liquid? Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He had heard of this liquid. It was formed from underground spirit veins, and each drop contained powerful spiritual energy. No matter how badly injured one was, as long as one didn't die, one drop of the earth essence liquid would quickly heal. Moreover, this liquid had the effect of increasing the realm of martial artists and demonic beasts. Gulp! Even though Lin Xian was used to seeing treasures, when he saw the great earth essence, he was still moved. This kind of treasure must be obtained. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed, and the aura on his body gradually became fierce. Feeling the change in Lin Xian's aura, the three monster beasts began to roar uneasily. They had just gone through a great battle and were all injured, which affected their strength. Whoosh! The snow-white little monkey's body flashed and directly rushed out. Whoosh! The demonic beast on the right was a huge spider as big as a house. It spat out a spider web to seal the cave entrance. Bang! The snow-white monkey was obstructed and its body was revealed. An angry expression appeared on its face. Behind him, two strands of sparkling and translucent spider silk quickly wrapped around the little monkey. Wuji. The snow-white little monkey kept flashing around, scratching its ears and cheeks. The fact that these three demonic beasts were able to stand out among the thousands of demonic beasts was enough to show how extraordinary they were. Even the little snow-white monkey was blocked by them. The other two demonic beasts were a white-spotted demonic tiger and a blue-winged demonic wolf. The two demonic beasts had a thick demonic chi flowing around them, which was extremely frightening. If it were any other time, Lin Xian would definitely turn around and leave. But right now the two demonic beasts were both injured, with horrifying wounds on their bodies. Lin Xian decided to give it his all. With a flick of his finger, the autumn scar sword appeared in his hand. Wind style. The sword light flashed, and the sword chi in the sky merged with the wind, stabbing towards the two demonic beasts' wounds. Roar! The white-spotted demonic tiger waved its claws, forming a couple of red sharp blades in the air, which were as sharp as blades. These demonic beasts were very sensitive. Although they could not see the sword chi, they could still sense it. With a leap, the white-spotted demonic tiger dodged Lin Xian's sword chi by a hair's breadth. On the other side, the blue-winged demonic wolf shook its wings, forming countless wind blades that rushed towards Lin Xian. Crack! 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 The ground and the trees nearby were all hit by the wind blades, causing countless cracks to appear. Shoo! The sword chi surged and the sword intent surged, slicing apart the wind blades in the sky. Then it stabbed towards the double-winged demonic wolf at an extremely strange speed. Wind Emperor's sword. After more than a month of training, Lin Xian had already mastered 60% of it, and this sword attack was extremely unpredictable. Shoo! Shoo! Almost as soon as the sword light flashed, the sharp sword chi had already pierced into the wound on the demonic wolf's stomach. The power of wind and thunder surged, quickly destroying the demonic wolf's body. That wound had already grown from 0.5 meter to 1 meter. Owa! The blue-winged cradle roared towards the sky, ignoring the wounds on its body as it rushed towards Lin Xian. On the other hand, the white-spotted demonic tiger pounced towards the cave. A blue light flashed, and the demonic wolf pounced towards Lin Xian like a gust of wind, bringing with it the smell of blood and overflowing demonic chi. Boom! Stomping on the ground with its 4 limbs, the demonic wolf jumped high into the air and spat out countless wind blades. Lin Xian used the dragon reverse step, and his body was like a dragon swinging its tail, quickly moving away. However, the demonic wolf in the air flapped its wings and disappeared. When it reappeared, Lin Xian was only 1 meter away from it. Whoosh! Whoosh! Its claws slashed out, tearing through the void. Lin Xian couldn't dodge in time, and hurriedly used the copper thunder pattern to block this attack. Boom! It was as if a mountain had crashed into him. Streaks of thunder patterns flickered as they resisted this attack with all their might. Lin Xian's face was pale. It was obvious that this attack was very uncomfortable for him. However, he didn't let go of this opportunity. Cloud-severing sword. The long sword slashed out like a rainbow, as if it was going to cut the clouds in the sky in half. The thick sword chi landed on the demonic wolf's body, and a cracking sound could be heard. At such a close distance, the demonic wolf didn't have any chance to dodge, and the power of the cloud-severing sword landed on its body. Flesh and blood splattered, and the sword chi quickly cut down, revealing the white bones inside. Boom! Owa! The demonic wolf fell to the ground, dying. Lightning chain. Lin Xian didn't feel at ease. He waved his hand and 5 lightning bolts appeared in the void, connecting together and striking down. The demonic wolf didn't have any resistance, and was shattered into pieces. Lin Xian's body flashed, and he ran toward the demonic tiger. Just now the demonic tiger wanted to take advantage of the chaos to sneak into the cave, but it was trapped by the spider's web, and it couldn't stop struggling. Cloud-severing sword. Lin Xian raised his long sword up high and slashed down. The sword chi was like a rainbow, shaking the void, tearing everything apart, and slashing toward the demonic tiger. Roar! Although the demonic tiger was trapped by the spider web, it didn't just sit there and wait for its death. The tiger stripes on its body lit up, forming a light above its head, and a huge tiger shadow appeared in the void. Boom! 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 The sword chi clashed with the light, and a bright light exploded. Shoo! Lin Xian's body flashed, and he disappeared from where he was. Dragon 7 steps. His body swayed like a dragon, and he stepped on the demonic tiger's head. Crack! The sound of bones breaking was heard, and blood and brain matter flew out together. The demonic tiger didn't even have time to cry out, and its body fell to the ground. Chapter 252. The snow-white monkey kept flashing, and behind it, there were always two sparkling spider silks dancing. Lin Xian saw this and slashed out. The dazzling sword Qi was like a dragon, whistling through the air. Dang! 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 The sharp sword Qi landed on the spider silks, but it only caused a few sparks. Such strong toughness! Lin Xian was surprised. One had to know that his sword contained 20% sword intent. Normal martial artists in the 7th layer of the spiritual ocean tier couldn't block it, but the two spider silks didn't cause any damage. The demonic beasts on this floating island were indeed abnormal. Lin Xian muttered, and at the same time, changed the direction of his sword, stabbing towards the huge body of the venomous spider. Qi! Qi! Two fist-sized holes appeared on its body, and instantly green blood flowed out. Hoo! Hoo! The 8 huge legs of the venomous spider danced wildly. Each leg was like a divine spear, able to pierce through everything. Lin Xian and the snow-white monkey were like lightning, leaving countless afterimages in the air. Their speed was extremely fast. Dragon counterattack 7 steps. Lin Xian's body was like a long dragon, swaying non-stop, and his feet emitted a dangerous aura. Dong! One foot stepped on the venomous spider's body, smashing a horrifying bloody hole. Second step. His foot landed again, and another bloody hole appeared. At the same time, the venomous spider roared at the sky, and the two sparkling spider silks abandoned the snow-white monkey, waving towards Lin Xian with full force. Ka! 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 Wherever the sparkling spider silks passed, the mountain rocks were cut open mercilessly, and the surrounding trees were all cut in half. Lin Xian didn't dare to be careless. Even if he used copper lace body, he still felt a heart-shaking aura. With a leap, he left the venomous spider's body. Another sword light flashed, and this sword cut right on the bloody hole. More than half of the sword Qi pierced into the spider's body. The power of wind and thunder surged, and the long sword cut the venomous spider's body in half. Hoo! Hoo! Qi! Green blood spilled in all directions. Everything around quickly withered, and horrifying wounds appeared. Lin Xian held his breath, took down the two sparkling spider silks, and then quickly rushed towards the cave. Puff! With a slash of his sword, Lin Xian bent his body and prepared to enter. Suddenly, a cold light flashed under his body and shot up into the sky, piercing his chest. At this moment, Lin Xian could feel the aura of death. The sword intent in his eyes surged as he slashed out together with the sword of soul. Ding! The cold light was blocked, and its speed slowed down for a moment. However, in the blink of an eye, it once again stabbed towards Lin Xian. Ding! Boom! The sharp tip pierced his chest, bringing with it a strange rotating force. The lightning mark flashed and condensed a thick lightning defense in front of Lin Xian's chest. However, this sharpness was too sharp. It actually drilled out a fingernail-sized hole and pierced under the lightning pattern. Puff! Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot as if he had suffered a heavy blow. His body slammed into the wall and flew out along with the rubble. Whoosh! A translucent figure appeared in a flash, holding a star-like dagger in his hand, flickering with a cold light. Jia! Earth Spirit Liquid. Wuji Wuji. The little white monkey saw Lin Xian flying out and shouted anxiously. Its body swayed and disappeared. You're courting death. The translucent figure was suddenly enraged. The dagger in his hand suddenly pierced towards the top of the Earth Spirit Liquid. Wuji! With a flash of white light, the little white monkey quickly escaped. The translucent figure sneered and looked at the Earth Spirit Liquid. His face instantly darkened. The fist-sized Earth Spirit Liquid was reduced by half. Damn monkey! The translucent figure let out a low growl. He took out a jade bottle and stored the remaining Earth Spirit Liquid. Even the land on the ground had been taken away by him. After doing all this, he looked at Lin Xian in the distance. To be able to kill 3 rank 5 demonic beasts and have a strange monkey, your identity must be extraordinary. Let's see if there's anything good. Like a ghost, the translucent figure floated over. Whoosh! The pale white palm gradually materialized and finally became no different from an ordinary person. The palm slowly reached out and grabbed Lin Xian's storage ring. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly opened his eyes. Soul fire. An invisible flame flew out from his left eye and landed on the translucent figure. It immediately burned. Ah! A scream rang out. The translucent figure immediately retreated and escaped into the distance. There were still flames dancing on his body. Trying to run? Lin Xian's body swayed and his sword pierced out like a shooting star. Ding! The translucent figure raised the dagger in his hand to block, cutting off the dazzling sword chi and colliding with the sword edge at the same time. Boom! Lin Xian's body swayed and dispersed the strange power. The translucent figure also retreated a few steps and gradually revealed a human face. Impossible! How can you still be alive after being hit by the cold star? The voice was filled with shock. After hiding for so long, you actually made a move at the last moment. You're indeed sinister. Lin Xian's voice was cold. Fortunately, he had obtained a mystic-level high-grade armor from Purple Heart, which saved his life. Kiki brat, scram or I'll kill you. After saying that, he waved the dagger in his hand. Soul fire. Lin Xian did not waste time and directly attacked. An invisible flame flew out, causing the translucent figure to scream again. It's useless, you can only injure me, but you can't kill me. The translucent figure shouted. Soulfire has a strong side effect on the eyes. Let's see how many times you can use it. After saying that, he actually endured the pain of his soul and rushed forward with the dagger in his hand. Soul sword. Lin Xian continued to merge the great dragon sword intent and finally succeeded after more than 10 times. Xiao. Dragon-shaped sword chi flew out with a destructive aura. Impossible. The translucent figure finally panicked. His soul seemed to be extinguished at any time. Pooh! The soul sword mercilessly slashed down. Together with the soul fire, the translucent figure's soul was destroyed. Boom! A figure appeared and landed on the ground. Lin Xian, on the other hand, covered his eyes and frowned. As he used the soul fire and soul sword, he realized that the damage to his eyes was increasing. It seemed that he could only use it as a trump card. Lin Xian sighed. Fortunately, he could still use illusions and other eye techniques. I was careless this time. Lin Xian covered his chest with a look of lingering fear. Until now his chest was still aching. Through his soul power, he could sense that there was a needle-sized hole in his mystic-level high-grade armor. This dagger is really good stuff. Lin Xian took the man's dagger and storage ring. His soul power reached out, and a jade bottle appeared in his hand. Inside, there were dozens of drops of emerald green liquid that emitted a shocking aura of life. Wuji wuji. The snow-white monkey jumped onto Lin Xian's body and spat out dozens of drops of earth spirit liquid. Then it pointed at the dagger and transparent spider silk. Midnight Chapter 253, 8 minutes and 19 seconds Chapter 254, 16 minutes and 23 seconds Chapter 255, 24 minutes and 35 seconds Chapter 256, 33 minutes and 12 seconds Chapter 257, 41 minutes and 30 seconds Chapter 258, 49 minutes and 53 seconds Chapter 259, 58 minutes and 7 seconds Chapter 260, 1 hour 6 minutes and 33 seconds Chapter 261, 1 hour 15 minutes and 13 seconds Chapter 262, 1 hour 23 minutes and 37 seconds Chapter 263, 1 hour 32 minutes and 2 seconds Chapter 264, 1 hour 40 minutes and 26 seconds Chapter 265, 1 hour 49 minutes and 17 seconds Chapter 266, 1 hour 57 minutes and 43 seconds Chapter 267, 2 hours 5 minutes and 34 seconds Chapter 268, 2 hours 13 minutes and 47 seconds Chapter 269, 2 hours 21 minutes and 51 seconds Chapter 270, 2 hours 29 minutes and 28 seconds Chapter 271, 2 hours 37 minutes and 17 seconds Chapter 272, 2 hours 45 minutes and 37 seconds Chapter 273. Midnight Chapter 253.